All right, guys. Well, look. Well, thanks for jumping on. This season it's a preseason coaches panel. Last year about this time, we had to be in shock that we're actually going to even try to have a season. The kids were online in school, and they told us we're going to have a basketball season. You guys were doing all kinds of protocols and practice and stuff, but we still had to doubt whether or not we're going to be able to get through this thing. And this year, I'm excited just to get back to normal. It looks like maybe fans will be able to go to games at this point. It looks like they're going to be. But it just shows you how important the things that you guys do, how important coaching is, and how important sports is to our culture. That even though the kids weren't even in school, you guys were having a season. So this year, let's hope we have a back to normal season. And tonight we can just talk about basketball more and instead of all about the protocols and the things that we do during COVID. So anyway, joining us today are Doug Ewell from Westfield High School, Tony Bentley from Wakefield High School. You guys are on so much. I talk to you guys more than I talk to my own mother. So you guys are becoming fixtures on the things that I do. We got Carlos Poindexter from Hayfield High School. We got Doug Craig from Woodson High School, and we got Sherman Rivers from Patriot High School. And new joining us for the first time today is David Houston from West Potomac High School. And David, who I haven't met, but I think we probably played ball at Seidenstricker back in the old days, because I understand you were balling out there you were balling out there. I definitely wasn't, but I understand you were. But I thought we'd let you go first because we haven't heard from you. You could talk a little bit about your background, and then let's just get right into it. Tell us a little bit about after that. Tell us a little bit about your team this year, what happened this summer, and about your losses and gains going into this season.
All right, thanks for having me. Hopefully, I can remember all those things in order. It's great to be on with you guys. Let's see a little background about me. I did grow up in Springfield. I did certainly play at those Seidenstricker courts. I went to West Springfield High School and played for Jim Warren at West Springfield and Craig Hamilton there. And then went on to college and had the opportunity to play for Ron Fang at Coppin State, and come back home and had a chance to coach freshman JV and be an assistant varsity coach at my alma mater, West Springfield, under, at the time, Coach Dick Wickline, who had taken over while I was gone to school. And that was just a great introduction to me of coaching. I coached throughout the summers. Fang at Coppin made all the players have to coach like summer kids in Baltimore, which is, that is a true introduction into coaching, coaching young kids. So once I came home, I coached freshman and JV, and then was a varsity coach for 2 years under Coach Wickline. We did a really good job of, turning the program around and making a name for ourselves. And I got the job at West Potomac in 2004-2005 season. West Potomac was coming off of a really tough stretch of about 4 years of not really that strong. And their final season before I took over, they were 2-20. And so we took over a program that had a lot of athletes in a big school, but didn't have a lot of structure and kind of organization. And that was kind of the goal to get there. And ultimately the goal at the time was to make like the youth camps and to make all that stuff a part of the community and kind of make kids want to look forward to playing at West Potomac. So this is my now 18th season there. Wow. I'm really proud to have, I got 3 former players from West Potomac on my staff. 2 of them are on my varsity staff. One of them is on my junior varsity staff. Since I've been there, that makes 8 ex-players that are now coaches or have been at some point coaches on my staff, freshman, JV, and varsity. And of course, we have a lot of summer help with a lot of the kids. So, I'm really proud of that program that we've built. Basketball means a lot in Alexandria. So, having that consistency, and of course it helps to win a little bit as well. Actually, that helps a lot of it to win. So, we've done a really good job. I started out in the Patriot Conference, which is the only conference I kind of knew. It used to be the Northern District way back in the day. And then, added a few teams here and there. And so, I remember my first coaches meeting, I had Dick Wickline was in the meeting. Charlie Thompson was in the meeting. Brian Meachers was in the meeting. I mean, it was heavy hitters in there, and so you had to kind of make your way at that time. So we did a pretty good job there. We got 3 district titles in the Patriot, and then we went over to the to Gunston. And in the past 4 years, we've been to the district championship every year of the Gunston, of having a tournament. And then now we're back to the Patriot, so excited about that. The summer was really exciting for us. It was, I think we all realized once we got to get into our gym, how much we maybe missed our gym, because we weren't in the gym the entire summer before. So I had a lot of alum come back, and, our guys were finally able to get back in the gym. I think it was probably around late April or early May or so we got in there. So we really grinded in the gym with our alum and the current guys in the weight room. And then we played in the summer league at the district, something like the district or something like that, the little warehouse place. But I thought we really, got tough there. And then we played in Tony's, Coach Bentley's fall league at Wakefield, which is really exciting to get back there again, not having been there for a few years and see all the teams. So last year's team, we played 9 games. We had no seniors. And so, we're really returning, everybody that we had last year. I don't know if 9 games gives you a ton of experience, but, that's what we had. So I'm excited about our group. We got, only have a few seniors, and, the rest of the guys are underclassmen, and, we've been really working hard, lifting weights and growing at the same time. So I'm really excited about it.
Hey, Coach, did you guys have any football players on your team? I mean, West Potomac, I think, was a relatively surprising season for them to go as far as they did in football. Do you have some of those guys playing basketball?
Yeah, the quarterback was one of my starting forwards over any one of those 9 games that we played last year. So there's a couple of the kids on the team, but he's Owen Joachim is really going to be an impact player for us. So yeah, we're excited to get him off. And yeah, they played great the other night yesterday afternoon, but unfortunately their season's over. So yeah, we'll get them back this week. Okay,
great. So guys, we're just going in order for me. That way I can keep track here. We'll start with Coach Ewell. Doug and I go way back from when I was refereeing his JV games, and very proud of how his success in basketball and coaching and throughout. So Doug, why don't you've introduced yourself a little bit. Why don't you remind us a little bit about your background quickly, and then talk a little bit about your team going into this year.
Doug Ewell, been at Westfield for 18 years. Had some up and downs the last couple of years, but had some real success, over the last, 18 years. I think that we've done a pretty good job. Thank you for having me, Julian. I love the group because I look at this group, man, and we got longevity here. Carlos has been at Hayfield for a while. Sherman's been at Patriot for a while. David's been at, West Potomac for 18 years. Doug's got to be around 18 himself. And Tony's been 19 at Wakefield, if I'm correct, 19 or 20. So, I mean, it's just a lot there. So that's kind of neat. Thank you again for having us. I'm really looking forward to the season, to be honest with you. I think our district will be really good. Adding South Lakes into it will be a lot of fun. It'd be neat to be going back to South Lakes. Haven't done it in a while. I think we got a pretty good team. I know we got a kid that can really, really shoot the ball, and Vetter, who can really, really fill it up. We lost a kid in Johnny Farmello. He was a first team all-region kid, but he's a baseball first kid going to UVA. I love him to death. He plays baseball with my son, so I'm excited that I'm disappointed that he's not playing, but I'm excited for him. We got a nice kid. Maybe Sherman remembers the kid. He's a junior from Battlefield. His name is Austin Trout. The kid can play. He's a tough kid, athletic. Really looking forward to him. I'm really excited about our group. I think we got a lot of guards for our first time. And one thing that we struggle with is size. And so we've been struggling on the size thing for a little bit here, but we make it happen. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to playing. Again, I told you earlier, it's our first game in November in 18 years. Yeah. We've never played because our football team has always gone so long that, I'm excited. We haven't played in a tip-off tournament since South County. We're playing in Doug Craig's tip-off tournament this coming Friday. And so I'm excited about that as well. So, there you go.
Hey, Coach, you're coaching your son this season. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's definitely been a challenge. He's a primary baseball kid, but he can shoot it. He helps us. He plays hard, gets on the floor. I'm really excited about coaching him. But it has some hurdles, man. When, people think that, you privileged your kid. You know, if you know anything about me, no one gets an inch. And so he doesn't get anything. He doesn't get a centimeter.
Yeah. Well, you know, you privilege your kids, but any ex-athletes themselves, they're tough on their own kids. I mean, so, I mean, if all of us play, and I'm sure we're probably tougher on our kids than anybody else. So they'll get no free ride with us. Tony, so Tony, why don't you go next? Tony is a fellow Star Barbershop graduate. We grew up learning the right way. A great chat with Tony. Tony's the guy that I refereed his games as well. Saw him play. I'm not sure if I officiated your games, but if you guys have been around a long time, it just shows you how long I've been around. But I know, Tony, you felt last year you had to mix. You actually let more guys on the team than you would have normally because of COVID. You're trying to think about these kids and giving them a quality of life that you may not have thought about in a regular time. First, quickly, remind us of your background, and then about this year. What do you have going on until this season?
Started my 20th year at Wakefield. Started in 2002, but before that, I was at Washington League for 8 years under Bobby Dobson, and before that, 2 years with John Phillips. So this is actually my 30th year coaching high school basketball. So I've been around a little while. Yeah. But with this year, we'll start with last year. Last year was a crazy season for everybody. We got 10 games in. We finished 7-3, but it was a different year. And I knew what kind of year it was going to be. And my longtime assistant coach, Buck, was like, look, man, it's going to be a COVID year. Don't put too much into it. So we ended up having 10 seniors last year. So we graduated all 10 seniors, and we knew what we was having coming up. We had a freshman team that was undefeated. They did get in like 16 games. So we're taking a chance. We've got 5 sophomores up on our varsity team. We're going to be very young. We're not rebuilding. We're not under construction. We are just building. We are really mixing the cement. So we're building. And I think for a guy that's been around for a long time, who's had some success at Wakefield, I think I'm more excited about the next 3 years than I am when I had the loaded teams or whatever it may be. Our practices have been a lot of teaching going on. Before I thought guys probably thought Wakefield just threw the balls out, but we didn't. But with this group, it's really a lot of stop and teaching. And Buck and I catch ourselves a lot, calling out something and realizing that they don't know it. So we have to really go back and teach. We're doing a better job this year of recording practices. I know people probably been doing that for years, but with this group, we're recording practices and having the kids go back and have to look at practices and just different things that we haven't had to do in the past that we are updating ourselves. We're trying to keep up with coaching and being in the business for as long as I have. Like I really feel excited. I'm not saying we're going to win a championship or anything like that, but I'm excited about the opportunity of coaching these young guys. A little different when you got all those seniors who think they know everything, where you can get these sophomores to really buy into what's going on. So we've been just throwing the word around a lot, building to the whole basketball program, because that's what we're doing. We're back building, and I'm excited about it. I really am excited about this year. And
hopefully your grandson is learning the right way, right?
Yeah, he definitely is. He definitely is.
Well, Coach Craig, thanks again for joining us. Now, it's hard to believe you've been around for 18 years because, Woodson hasn't had, that many coaches. You've come in there and you've done a super job. My good friend, Jason Coleman, his son, Gibraltar, is now at Flint Hill. He told me he saw your team this summer, and not to put the pressure on you, but he said you guys look really good and that your kids are playing really well and playing together. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself again, and then what do you have for us coming into this season?
Well, thank you for having me on. This is my actually it's my 17th year at Woodson. I'm one less than Coach Houston. There's actually a funny story. When I first got the job at Woodson, Coach Houston, he probably don't remember this, but he shot me an email. He had been an assistant at West Springfield about the same amount of time I was an assistant at Woodson. And he shot me an email when word came out that I got the job, and he sent me an email that just said, all the young guys are taking over. And now I look around and we're the old guys now. So we've been around a long time, but it's weird on this podcast seeing Coach Bentley and Coach Ewell and Coach Houston who've been on longer than me. There's not that many in the region who are at their school longer than I have. But yeah, this will be my 17th year as the head coach. I was on staff for 5 years. So I've been at Woodson for 22 years. This is my 23rd school year teaching at Woodson too. So I've only been at one place. I'm originally from, I think I'm the only non-local on the podcast too. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Son of a coach. My father was a high school football coach and athletic director for a long time. My uncle was a high school soccer coach. My mother-in-law was an elementary school teacher. So I'm kind of from a family of coaches and teachers. I'm excited to start the year just like everybody else. I think last year was it was one of my most enjoyable groups to coach last year. I think, I went into the day before practice thinking we weren't really going to have a season. I thought CPS would pull the plug on it because of what was going on with COVID. Was pleasantly surprised to have a season. We had a pretty good year. We were 11-6. We made it to the regional semifinals. We lost to South County. Our problem in the last few years for us is we've had decent teams, but everybody in our league we've had some really, really good teams in our league. I think for like 3 or 4 years there, we had a Patriot district team in the state final every year. And it's just a grind. You can have a good team in our league and win 8-9 games and go out of district and do very well. It just kind of is what it is. We have an experienced group coming back, particularly in the backcourt. We have a lot of senior guards who've played a lot. We got probably 4 guys that were, either full-time or part-time starters for us last year back. We're a little young in the front court, but we have an experienced group. And I think if you have guards in high school, you've always kind of have a chance because you can kind of control the tempo and the pace of the game. And I'm very excited. This is the first time in 5 years I've gone into the summer and come out of the summer with every kid expected to be at Woodson. It's the first time I haven't had a transfer out in 5 years. One summer we lost three guys. So I'm excited to just have all the guys that started at Woodson as freshmen back as seniors. It's nice for a change to not have to, you could call it a drill at practice and you don't have 10 guys looking at you like you got grown 3 heads because they don't know what you're talking about. So I feel what Tony's going through this year at Wakefield. We went through it the last few years, but it's always exciting to start a new season. We have a good group of kids. They work really hard. So we're excited to get started.
So, Coach, did you do anything different to make your kids stay, or just luck of the draw, strong group, and the kids just happen?
Here's the thing. I think the beautiful thing about being a public school coach is you never have to recruit a team. You're always going to have kids who want to play. You may not have the best kids. You may not have all the kids you were hoping to have, but you will always have a team, and you don't have to go 360 days out of the year to middle school gyms and try to get kids to come play for you. So we didn't do anything different. We didn't. I didn't do a better job recruiting my kids back this year. The kids all wanted to stay. And that's nice. I know everybody here's, lost kids over the years. It happens. And it's part of the experience of being a public school coach in Northern Virginia. I think it's just, the kids are going to leave. And I think it's just kind of that way everywhere right now. I just think it's been going on for quite a while here.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Coach. Well, Coach Carlos, I said earlier that you got big target on your back this year. I hear a lot about Hayfield. You were a really good player at Hayfield yourself. Now you've kept a nice program at Hayfield going. You filled big shoes, and you've definitely fulfilled on that promise. Tell us a little bit about your background and also about this year. I know you guys did well last year, and also you won a pretty prestigious fall tournament as well coming into this season. Yeah, I think you got a couple football players that are going to rejoin you, and folks are saying that you guys may have a chance to do something big this year.
Yeah, we'll see about that part. But as far as me, I've been at Hayfield for this is my 9th season coming up. Started off as a JV coach, and then once Coach Palmer left, basically they gave me the job, and just been at it ever since, just trying to continue to create a great product within the Hayfield community and put out good players, and hopefully they go into college and do successful things. So that I've been blessed to have some talent throughout the years. But I'm really looking forward to this year. I returned 5 starters from last year's semifinal team. Starting off with Braylon Wheeler, 5'10" guard
Hey, look at Tony's face, man. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, Los, but Tony's face when you said that, I'm sorry. I had to say something. That job's up the pass.
That's because he's returning 5 starters. I'm returning no starters. Nobody with varsity experience. None.
No, you could see the anger in his face. He was like this. As soon as you say, he's like this. All right, my bad, Los. You got it, bro.
You good.
Should I cut my camera off when he talks? Should I cut my camera off?
Yes.
Tony's like, bye guys, I'm out of here.
Oh man, but Braylon Wheeler, 4-year varsity point guard starter for me. He was first team All State, football and basketball, and he's coming back to us. So a quick story. He just got off the football field like a week ago, and we played St. Stephen's this past Saturday. And when I tell you, like, he's been rusty throughout the whole start of this season, and we get to the fourth quarter, and this kid, we're going versus Devin Caesar, who's going to Buffalo, and he wanted to match up, and in the fourth quarter, he outscored Devin 15-2 in the fourth quarter for us, and hit the game-winning shot for us to win the game. So, that kid, man, he's very special, and I'm looking forward to see what he does this particular year. Then I got Ashton Pratt, who's another 2022 senior guard who could fill it up, being recruited by like D2s, D3s. And then Greg Jones, who's a 6'6" guard, forward, however you want to look at him. He's a very, very special kid. Looking to see him go to the next level this year, which I think he really is. If anybody's seen him this fall, you see the potential and where he's going to be. And hopefully I can keep him through next year as well. So we'll see what happens with that. And then you got David King, who's an undersized forward. He played on Bentley's team pro look in the summertime. So Bentley knows a little bit about him. Undersized kid, but he does everything for us. And he doesn't do anything special, but he rebounds the ball extremely well, finishes it around the rim. And he's like the X factor on our team. And then you got DJ Holloway, who's our other point guard, so to speak, another 2023 kid, excellent in open court, getting better as being more vocal as a leader. And he played only in the second half of the season last year. Now with him being a full year, all summer playing the point guard position, all fall without Braylon playing the point guard position, and he stepped it up a lot, and he had a good fall. So looking to see what he does this year, this fall. So, those are our top 5 guys, and I got a kid named Marcus Rouse, who 6'3" swing man who can shoot and play great defense. But that's all I have. So my biggest problem is that I had no bench. So I got 6 guys, and if we get in foul trouble, it's going to be some long nights. But hopefully we can do a good job and
you hear what he said? That's all I have. That's all I have. You just took 20 minutes talking about your 5. That's all you have. Man.
Y'all missed him talking about, I return starting 5 of my start. There's only 5. Lowe's, There's only 5. You only get 5. You got all of them. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Hey, Coach, I saw you guys over at District Sports this summer. I was there watching some games.
Yeah.
Obviously, those are some of the most talented teams in the whole metro area. How did your talents stack up when you played against those guys?
So we did pretty well over there. The only team that really got at us was Paul VI. Everyone else, we either competed or we beat it this summer. So that's why I'm my players just text me right now because they see these preseason lists go out and they see all the teams that we beat in front of us. So they're kind of jacked up about that. I'm getting text messages as we speak right now.
Okay. Well, great. Well, let's go to Sherman Rivers over here. Sherman was a great player himself. Love what he did on the court for Potomac High School and Coach Kendall Hayes. He made more state runs than most people could ever dream about. Played at William and Mary. And last year you guys put together a nice season. I think you lost to Potomac in the 6C regional final, I believe.
Yeah.
So why don't you quickly fill in the blanks what I missed on your background and kind of tell us a little bit about your team.
Like you said, played at Potomac, played for Coach Hayes, went to William Mary, played, went overseas for 7 years after that. I'm the young buck in the group, I guess. I'm only on year 6. Y'all got all me. I'm way behind everybody else. So I started looking at it like it's been a long time. I hear people saying 18, 19, 20. Then Lowe's jumped out there with 9. I was like, man, I need to be quiet. But yeah, I mean, we had a pretty good year last year. We had a really good point guard, and as Doug talked about before, like you got a good guard that kind of helps you figure everything else out. And I felt like we had one of the better ones in Trey Nelson, who's now at Massanutten in the prep year. And then we had another pretty good guard, Chad Watson. Trey was first team All-State and Chad was second team. So we lost both of them, and our starting big guy left and went to private school. So I guess I'm the one losing kids every year now that y'all not losing. So, so he went to Fairfax Christian. It's getting to the point now. I feel like that coach got to give me a gift card or something. You take somebody from me every year. Listen, like I said, it's kids leave. It is what it is. We talked about this before when I've talked with you guys. Player development is really important. And we know the guys are either going to leave or they're going to graduate. So somebody got to be able to step in and take their responsibilities when it's time. So we got some kids, I think, that are ready to do those things and hopefully continue what we've been doing. We got a couple good juniors that are going to start for us. Our point guard, Nasir Coleman, has been on varsity since he was in the 9th grade. So he's been playing behind Trey Nelson and Zach Blue, 2 good guards that we had the last couple of years. And another junior for us, kid named Jay Randall, I think has got a chance to be really good. For you older guys and that were around and maybe got to see it, but I don't want to put this on him yet. But when I watch him play, he reminds me a lot of Tynell Harris, who was on that 95 state team for Potomac. Now Tynell especially, he's not that good yet, but he's got a lot of things that remind me of that. So, but yeah, he's going to be good for us. Senior wise, Nick Marrero is a kid that started for us last year. He's one of the better shooters, I think, in the state. So I think he'll have a good year. And then we got 5 sophomores. Last year in the COVID year, I kept 15 on varsity, and usually I only stay around 12 or 13. But threw a couple of freshmen on varsity last year that probably would have played JV in another year. But I was just like, we'll just keep them around so they can be around us for this anyways. And then we got a transfer kid that's coming from North Stafford, a kid named Kai Dillard, a kid named Brady Page, who's got good genes. His sister played in Nebraska and won a bronze medal in the 2016 Olympics for Serbia. So that's always good. And then the 5th one, this one is a funny story. I'm in my class. You got good administration. They always want to call you when somebody walk in the office that's tall. that's coming into school. And, one of the secretaries called me and said, Coach, we got a kid in here. And I'm thinking, it's going to be some guard that she thinks pretty good. Go, well, he's 6'7". I said, you're lying. I said, nobody 6'7" comes here. But, with that being said, he is coming from Ghana. He has literally been playing basketball for 9 months, and he looks like he's been playing basketball for 9 months. But he is 15 years old, and because he's 15 years old, I have a lot of patience for everything that he does not know. We were in practice the other day, and I said, do you know what a zone is? He said, I do not. He knows nothing. Guys, what I'm saying to you, he knows nothing. But he is 6'7", and he can run, and he can catch somewhat at this point. So we'll figure that out as the years come for sure. But yeah, we finished 12-3. Obviously got to play some more games than other people because we didn't have any shutdowns or anything like that. All the teams we were supposed to play, we ended up playing. And then we got to the regional championship and ran into a really good Potomac team that had a lot of seniors that were very talented, and they beat us like a team that was very talented with a bunch of seniors. So, hopefully the guys that were there and went through the experience feel the pain of that, because like I was telling you guys, we open up with Potomac on Wednesday. So hopefully we can go in there and do a little something. But, as we're young with a little mix of some guys that have some experience, but nobody that has been played big minutes or anything like that. So I think it's going to take us a little bit of time to kind of figure out, but I think we have a chance to be really good when it's all said and done. So,
Coach, are you and Potomac in the same district? The schools.
We're in the same region. We're not in the same.
Yeah, there's new schools
so-
every week in the Woodbridge. The Prince William County. Every week it seems like a new school opens up.
So we're in the same region. Our district added 2 more teams, so now we got 4 more games in there with the Gainesville High School opening up, and then Freedom South Riding is now in our district. So that's we got 14 district games we got to play now, which for me and us, what the way it's been, that wasn't something we were used to. So I know the rest of you guys got bigger districts than we did. So we're dealing with that. So the scheduling you try to do outside of it, and not a whole lot of games you get, but you want to make sure you get good ones. So us, Potomac, we have them. We're going to go to Henrico for their Christmas tournament.
Oh, nice.
And then we're going to be in Virginia Preps, probably the one that's on the 22nd down at Lansdowne. And we might play either Salem or Western Branch. So those are always good teams to play against. So if we can get as much competition as we can, and then have ourselves ready for district play, because we've won the district the last 4 years. So I'm sure that everybody is waiting for us to fall off of that pedestal. And I want to try to do the best we can to stay up there and keep pissing people off. So
that's right. So far, we've been putting a lot of pressure on Coach Carlos at Hayfield, but now it's time to put pressure on other folks. So Doug, when you look around your district and maybe, I guess you're probably Region 6D, right? Who has a good team coming back in your district, if the region, if you even know, and what are some of the people that you're looking at now? Or you may tell me, right now with COVID, we're just focusing on us right now.
You were going to Doug Ewell, not Doug Craig, correct?
I'm sorry, I was going, Doug Ewell first.
All right, good.
Always goes first.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Centerville's won the last 2 state titles, so I would think that they're returning a lot of guys. New coach, but he was an assistant there, so I think that's awesome. I think South Lakes has been really rolling, and so I think that they will be another, a difficult team. Bobby got a good squad, and don't leave Bobby out. And Bobby made a great run last year, so I would say that they're another team that's right there. I think we're pretty good. I'm being honest with you. I don't, and I don't toot my horn too off, but I think we're a decent basketball team. I think that we'll definitely compete every night. But I would say right off the top, I would say South Lakes, Centerville, Washington and Liberty. I think those 3 teams are probably the top 3 teams in our region. I'm probably leaving somebody else out and they'll get mad, but that'll be okay. Yeah. Wakefield, I can't say Wakefield. Bentley always got a squad. They always coached up. So
Wakefield. You're gonna mess this whole show up.
Yeah, that too. So I think our region is kind of wide open. I really do. I know everyone's kind of talking about South Lakes and Centerville, but I really think our region is kind of wide open. I think it'll be a fun year.
Well, Coach Houston, why don't you put your prognosticator's hat on? And when you look around your district and your region, you guys are probably 6C, I believe. Who are the teams that you're looking at, and what are some of the big games on your calendar?
Yeah, I have no idea the letter that we are, six something. I got no clue. I'm the new guy in the district of a bunch of South County has got state titles and and Woodson state title. So we're just going to try to do what we can. I think South County is, I saw them this fall. They were really, really good. Of course, I always respect Doug's teams. I haven't been to Woodson and played a game at Woodson now in like 5 years. It's been a while, but I know that's a advantage playing at home games at Woodson. And then I think our region, Hayfield, we talked about it, Carlos, got every person and statistician back from last season, in the same spot. So I think, and then, we scrimmaged Edison the other night and on Tuesday night. And I guess Terry's saying real low key, but he might have the tallest group of guys. I'm glad we scrimmaged them because I really wasn't sure that they were that tall. They're really good. They're really good, really good. So
them and Hilton.
Well, Hilton's in that other, in the other league. But as far as our region, they're really good. So we open up with South Lakes. We scrimmaged Centerville last week as well. So we open up with South Lakes and we play Yorktown. So our out of conference games are real good. So, I think those teams are going to be really good. I think that we can compete with everybody that I just said, though. So I'm really excited about our opportunities to compete. I've gone from an 8-team league my whole career to a 5-team conference at the Gunston, which was, you're just trying to find as many games as you can because there's only 8 league games. You play everybody the second time around, like 2 weeks. So going back to, having 14 conference games is really cool.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Well, Coach Bentley, what about you guys? What do you see looking around? One thing about you, I think you coach summer league, you host leagues, so you know what everybody has. You've been watching looking at everyone's hand the whole offseason. What do you see out there?
I'm just trying to get some kids to move to South Arlington, but it ain't happening.
Hey, listen, man, I've never seen Tony do the book as much as I did this past fall.
I was
trying to tell you. He was doing the book every game. I'm like, this dude, what is he doing over here, man?
Well, I did the book a lot because I didn't want to see my team. So, I think Doug said it best, and I'm very happy for him because he's put his time in 27 years at one place. Bobby Dobson finally has a team. And I think that people will start to talk about W&L. He's got an experienced group, and we talk all the time. And what he did was all those guys were sophomores last year. And he went with the experiment of playing them, and they were in some games. They played some tough games, and now those guys are juniors. So he's going to be looking to make a run for the next couple of years. But W&L is really solid. Of course, well coached. They're going to play hard. And he finally has some pieces in place that I think Bobby's going to make a run this year. I really do. With us going into the Liberty District for the first time in a long time, it gives us that Arlington rival. We got W&L, Wakefield, and Yorktown in the same conference again.
That's great.
So you throw those records out when they all play, and it's just going to be a great time, a lot of fun, really going at it. It's nothing like the W&L Yorktown rival. I played in it. It's nothing like it. In the last few years, they've had to move their games to Wednesdays and Thursdays because it's been crazy. So that rival is going to be really good. Having in Yorktown, Joe Reed over there is doing his 5-in, 5-out offense. They got 3 or 4 years under their belt with it. They got guys that can shoot it. He's got some size. They're going to be fine. Marshall. Jerry Lynn does a great job. And now I think it's Jerry Lynn's program now. He came in, this is his 3rd year, I believe. So now he's got those guys playing the Jerry Lynn way. So I think Marshall's going to be tough as well, too. I don't know much about McLean. Coach O'Brien always does a good job with the players that he has. So I don't know much about McLean. Herndon, my man Q, finally getting the chance to go back and coach against Q. Q was at Edison back in the days. He played in my Christmas tournament when he was at Glen Elch Country School. They're always well coached, going to play hard. Langley, you got Scott, who does a great job with his guys. He takes away your strengths. So it's going to be good to be doing something different. I am glad that Edison is finally looking real good. I don't have to play them no more. My wife works at Edison now, so I'm glad I'm not sleeping with the enemy anymore, so I can actually cheer for Edison. So it's just a lot of good things that, again, me, talking about Wakefield, I'm downplaying us a little bit. We got some guys. We're going to compete. We're going to compete, but we're not at that level where, like Carlos got everybody, the managers and the scorekeepers coming back. We don't have anything like that. We will compete. We'll make some noise. I think because of the name on the front of on the jersey. But when we get into this new district, a lot of people have been saying that, we haven't had the strongest district and we've been winning because of our district and things like that. Wait till you see what they do in the Liberty District. Listen, man, basketball is basketball. I mean, you're gonna play hard, you're gonna coach. I don't have a strong team, but we on December 11th, we're going down to Chesapeake to play against Princess Anne at Western Branch. I mean, I'm still gonna play the top guys and get our butts beat and learn from it. We open up with Colonial Forge, who Anthony Mills has done a great job of building that program out there. And we go out there to Colonial Forge. And I wanted that game. I begged Anthony to come out there because I know what he has. Because 3 years ago, he played in my Christmas tournament, and those guys were all young. And now they're all seniors. And so I want my guys to go out there to get that butt whooping, to really, make a sting. Like Sherman said, last year with Potomac, you want to have these things in these guys' heads as they're growing. I know we're not going to be a championship contender, but we're going to compete. That's the one thing you're going to get when you wear that green and white. So we're going to compete. But I do think, region-wise, Centerville, of course, is in our region, is going to be good. Joe Turner's a young guy, waited his turn to get the job out there. So, yeah, it's a lot of good teams. If I don't say South County, Mike Robinson's going to kill me. So, we argue all the time. Why is Hayfield better than us? Oh, man, listen, y'all got to play. So it's going to be some great games this year. And like I told the guys in our group text, I will be at VCU watching all y'all games while y'all playing. So it's going to be a great year for you guys.
The Centerville coach, I know his son plays at Paul VI. He moved on. He's no longer.
Kevin has moved on. Doug can probably tell you more about that. But yeah, Kevin's moved on. His son is a big time basketball player, and the right time to step down and be there for your kid, man. So
He played as a ninth grader there.
yeah.
He can really shoot
Kevin
it.
is,
Really shoot it.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Coach Craig, what about you? What do you see in your district, and looking ahead to the region as well?
One team I'll mention on the other region. I don't know if what are we, Dave? 6C? We're 6C.
We need to C or D.
Well, I'm surprised nobody mentioned who we scrimmaged them, so I know that they're really good and they're really well coached. Madison's really good.
Yeah,
Kevin Roller is one of the best, I think, tacticians in terms of X's and O's that we have, and his team really executes well. They got a lot of guys that can shoot the ball. They're good. They have a really nice team. They have a lot of good guards. I knew that. Kevin will get me. No problem, Coach Ewell. I got you. they're good, and they've been really good for several years now. I mean, they've been right in the mix. In our region, district,
Doug, I saw your scrimmage on NFHS.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, they have a really nice team and they execute the heck out of everything. It's kind of a cop out in our district. It's like every night's a dogfight. I mean, everybody's good. I mean, everybody's got kids that can play. Coach Howson knows this. He coached in our district for a long time. It's just every inch of the floor in a Patriot district game is going to be competed for. It's just a dogfight every night. Everybody's got kids. They're all big schools with a lot of athletes. You see it in football, you see it in basketball. It's just a lot of good athletic play in our league. So I think we have a good team. We could finish sixth. I mean, I think you could put the top 6, 7, 8 teams in a hat in our league on any given night and have them all play each other, and everybody can beat everybody else up. I mean, it's just that kind of league. I think Coach Howson has a really good group. I caught a little bit of them in the fall, and they're his teams play really, really hard. They're very physical. They're always very difficult to keep off the backboards, and their kids are relentless, which I think is a tribute to him and his staff. South County, Coach Robinson, they've been, they're kind of the lead dog now for about 4 or 5 years, and they just had talent after talent. They got a lot of good players. He does a good job with them, gets them organized. They play together as a unit. They're kind of hard to get out of their game. Coach Metris at Lake Braddock he's Coach Metris, right? Like he can play one style on Tuesday night and come out and play a different style on Friday night. I don't know how he does it. But he does a good job. They got some really experienced guards. Mike Barbie at Fairfax could have the best player in the district. That Margot Choi Gilserin kid is a really good player, like 6'5" guard, can shoot, can handle the ball. He's really good. And they got a lot of seniors around him that have played a lot. And so I would expect they're going to be competitive. Coach Marshall at West Springfield, his teams are always great defensively and very physical. And they're going to make it a rock fight every night when you have to play them. It's going to be 45-41, with a minute to go. I mean, it's just kind of how the games are. And I think Coach Gilday does a really nice job. I mean, I think everybody in our league is pretty tough. So, I mean, I guess you got to, Coach Howson, Coach Robinson, I'd probably put them as the favorite just because I think they have the most complete teams. But I mean, I think any of our top 6, 7 teams are going to be tough outs on a given night around our region. I think, I know he doesn't want to hear his Coach Poindexter. I look at him as the favorite. They won the region last year. Some people thought that was an upset. We played both teams. We played Hayfield. I thought we played a really good game down there. They beat us by about 10, but they're very good. We played South County 3 times. We were really fortunate to win once. It wasn't like a big upset. I didn't think that they won. I thought both teams were really good. I think when you get to that level, you get to a regional semifinal, a regional final, a state tournament game, everybody's like good. There's not a big difference between any of the teams that are playing at that level. And sometimes it comes down to one night, somebody makes some shots that they don't normally make, and some nights you don't make some shots. But I think, Coach Poindexter with 5, 6 others top, 7 guys back on a team that went to the state tournament, you'd have to put them as the favorite. But there's some other teams on his side, I'm sure that he'll tell you are going to push him. And, Edison's good. I think Annandale's going to be good. I know they have a little bit of a changeover in coach, but I think they have some talent and they have some good guards that have played a lot. they kind of have been a tough style to play against the last couple of years. It'd be interesting to see what their new coach comes up with. But the Occoquan, I guess it's the Occoquan region. Is that right?
I think so. Mhm.
Yeah, there's just a lot of good teams. I just think, we'll see how it kind of shapes out. I like our team, but there's a lot of other good teams too. I just named half the region.
About Coach Marshall. Dermy's brother died about 10 days ago. I would invite him on the call, but I know he had his hands full this weekend. So our thoughts with Dermy and his brother. So I'm glad you brought that up. Coach Carlos, obviously this would be a good time for you to put the pressure on somebody else because everyone's talking about how good you are. So when you look around, what do you see, and what are some of the games you have circled on your calendar?
So as far as our conference, I wish I could tell you, give you a more in-depth evaluation on all the teams, but besides Edison, I really don't know what everyone else has because I didn't really see them this fall, and us coming into this new district, I don't know, I just don't know yet. So, but Edison for sure because we're neighbors. Terry's one of my best buddies, so we talk all the time. We talk about our players, so I definitely know inside and out who he has in their team. And I think that they'll give us our toughest competition. But also I hear Falls Church is pretty good. They return quite a few guys off of their team. But like I said, Edison, Falls Church to me are the top three teams. If Coach Dietrich was still there, I would say Annandale as well, because Dietrich does an amazing job with the talent that he has over there. But now I don't even know who the new coach is yet, so I can't tell you anything about Annandale besides Max Lennox. Max Lennox is a good guard for them. I think he's a 4-year starter as well for Annandale. Actually, he didn't play last year because of COVID, so he sat out this last year. But he played for Nova Cass in the spring, summertime. He actually had a good AAU season, and coming in with some nice buzz. So yeah, Max Lennox, he could actually be a player of the year candidate too if when it's all said and done. But as far as to me, like top teams that I've seen, Westfield's really, really good. They was averaging 80 points, about 80 points in the fall league, and he didn't even say that, but
with the running clock,
right?
They put a lot of points. They put a lot of points on the board this fall. So I like them. I like Soko. Soko's always good. With the Keanu Lee and the point, I forgot JMO, and JMO's pretty good. But like Doug did say a good thing about Margot. I feel like Margot is probably like top 3 player in our region as a whole, and he could definitely be the Patriot District Player of the Year, depending on how they finish out. And I want to say I saw WNL play. They were really good. They got some guards who could fill it up. Like really, I like them. But they're not even in our region though. They're in which real region are y'all? Patriot?
I have no idea. They change it every year. I have no idea. We just play.
Right.
Yeah.
Northern region, baby. We are the northern.
Oh, northern region. Yeah.
It's northern and it's northern. I think it's 6D and Occoquan is 6C. I think Sherman is probably 6B. I think that's how it works.
Isn't it sad that we have?
I just say it's Prince William County because that's who our region is now. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Isn't it sad that we have 6 head coaches on this podcast and nobody knows any of the regions?
Like,
I think we're all being serious.
All the time.
I think we're all being serious. Yeah.
That's a problem the VHSL needs to fix.
Yeah.
You think they would ask us, right?
Yeah, they just got to find a way to put the best team should play for a chance to win a state championship. I told this story before. My son's team went to state in soccer to the finals, and we played West Springfield in the state semifinals. So my son goes to Yorktown in the state semis. West Springfield's in a different region than us. And I was like, why are we playing West Springfield in the state semifinal? But I guess that's just the way it is now. And somehow they got to fix that. Yeah. So okay. Well, look, let's Coach Sherman. Let's talk about the Prince William County. Again, I think it's 6B. I think the 6A is like Virginia Beach and Norfolk and all.
I think you're right. I think that's right.
I think so. But anyway, talk a little bit about some of the teams you're going to look at, and also what is your demographic at Patriot? You probably have a little bit of everything. You probably got your upscale. You probably got a lot of diversity as well, or.
I wouldn't say it's a lot of diversity. it's from a demographic standpoint, you have obviously your people that it's not the same as like Battlefield. That's like country club type kids. But you have your kids that have money. It's more white than obviously it is going to be black. It's our basketball team doesn't look like that so much anymore, but it's that's basically how our school kind of breaks down. It's just one of those things, like if you drove on campus, that was what you would see, so a lot of kids with some nice cars in the parking lot.
But it's not like Potomac or Woodbridge where you had lots
no. It's like a different world out here from there. For somebody that went to school there and worked there, it's just completely different. So our district, obviously I start talking about Battlefield first. That's our rival. I know we have a lot of rivalries in ours, and as deep as like a lot of these other schools and areas, but it's kind of, I feel like we got to be up there as far as one of the ones, as far as like the fans and everything else and the craziness that happens when we play against them. They're going to be pretty good this year, I think. I'm not sure how good. I know they have a couple of kids that were on our team last year that made their way over there somehow. But it is what it is. I'm never going to be mad about people leaving. And I can tell you that I'm not overly upset that those kids are not on our team and on somebody else's. So, but they will contribute for them. One in particular is Trey Nelson's younger brother, Chase, who is a knockdown shooter, can shoot it from anywhere, will shoot it from anywhere, and can make shots at a very high clip. So he's in a good situation being there because he'll be able to play a lot, shoot a lot. John Champ, obviously, is in our district still as well. I know.
Is Kevin Brown coaching with them? Is he on their staff?
I have no idea. Walt, what's Walt's last name? I forgot. Walt's over there. Webb. So he's over there. He's got, he's gonna, they're gonna have some guys that are gonna be there and show up and be ready to play. I haven't seen it personally, but I got made fun of by some other coaches in our district by having scouting reports on all the teams in the state of Virginia in the off season. I said, I don't know why you guys don't know this information, but that's okay. So they got a 6'6" kid that I think plays the point. Los, you've seen him. I'm sure they're now on that district fall league, right? So, I heard that he's pretty good. And they always put a competitive team out there, and that's we've been the top two teams in the district the last couple of years. Rocky Carter over at Osborne always has a team that plays really hard. They're going to, make it a rock fight, so to speak, like we've heard people say it. They would love a game in the 40s if it could be that. And they have a way to make you play very ugly. You find yourself in a game when you feel like it shouldn't be. So, and he's a really good coach. Unity Reed always has a lot of athletes. And so I know they'll be able to get up and down the floor and do some stuff. And then Gainesville, new high school, you have Justin Powers, who's a new coach there that was at Freedom South Riding. So I'm sure that he'll get them ready to play. With being a new school, I know it's going to be some difficulties. We actually had a few kids that were supposed to go to our school that got zoned for them, because that school is literally like right down the street. And be honest with you guys, those kids are in a better situation being there because they might not have been playing basketball this year if they stayed with us. Just being real. I know I say a lot of things that might bother people or put bulletin board material, but they can't ever tell me I'm not honest about stuff. So every time I wonder why people get mad at me and don't like me, then I hear myself talk out loud. So
it's just YouTube. It'll just be on forever. It'll just be on forever.
It is what it is. I invite it. I like the competition. I hope they come in trying to kick our butts because it makes it more fun. I don't want to just have games where we blow everybody out all the time. So, but I'm being real with you guys. Until somebody beats us, I'm going to say we're the favorite to win the district. Yeah. And they might not like that I say it. They might be mad that I say it, and they might tell their kids I said it. But until they beat us, it is what it is, So every year I've heard that Patriot's going down this year. They lost this, they lost that, and then every year I look at the new trophy that's been in our trophy case. So until they prove me otherwise, I'm going to pick my guys over them. Region-wise, what's that?
What district, what region y'all in? I gotta start following that this year.
Oh no, well, no. Listen, if you ever want to hear some great stories, I can tell you about our district meetings because they have made it clear that they are not going to vote for me or anybody on my team because they're mad at me. So it is what it is. So only thing I can control is what we do on the floor. So if you ever hear about Patriot pressing in the last 2 minutes of district games, you know why. So our region, Prince William County, obviously we got Potomac in our region. Woodbridge is really talented this year. Got a lot of players that have been playing for a while. Courtney does a great job with those kids over there. And then I think the third best team over in the Cardinal district would be Hilton. They got a lot of kids coming back. I'm not sure if this is a real thing, but I think they got 11 seniors, which when Tony, you talking about you had 10 seniors last year, I thought that 11 sounded insane, but I guess that's something that occasionally might happen. So he's got 11 seniors on a team that made it to the regional tournament last year. And they lost to us. Woodbridge lost to us, but they both were very talented. And we're actually playing those three teams, the top three teams from the Cardinals. So we get an idea of what they look like before, obviously, we get to the end of the season. It's just like I talked about us being the favorite in our district. I'm not going to say anybody else is the favorite in the region until somebody beats Potomac. And they have won our region the last 2 years. So until somebody beats them, they're the team that's favored to win it. And Keith likes to, sandbag and tell you he don't have anything. I don't want to hear it. I've been in this situation. I've seen him say it when we have been loaded. So I don't want to hear nothing about them not being good until it is proven that they are not good. Because they have his son, Kyle, who's a very good basketball player. So I know they lost a lot, but they do a good job of coaching their kids up and having kids ready to play. So, like I said, it's our county. Then you add in Colonial Forge, who's in our region as well. Thank goodness we got rid of Riverbend and Massaponax because that trip was not fun. So they're no longer in our region, but, we add Freedom South Riding, Gainesville, who's a new school. So, it's tough how things are lined up with the state stuff. I heard you talking about how your son had to play West Springfield in the semifinal. Basically, all they did was try to make it a guarantee that a Northern Virginia school would play somebody from down there. And even when they did it, it still didn't matter because Potomac plays Centerville. So, it's just one of those things that, you're going to be battle tested coming through our district. It's not as tough as it's been, but in years past, we've had 3 teams in the top 10 in Division 6. So, we know we're going to come in and have to deal with, it's not obviously having people in the state championship every year like you guys have with Woodson and South County and Lake Braddock, but we beat up on each other just the same. And then whoever comes out of that, I feel like has a pretty good chance in the region. And if they get to states in the state tournament.
It's interesting, Sherman, you're talking about how you're the best until someone beats you. One thing about basketball, and I think sports generally, that past success means something, whether or not it's the same players or not. Like I remember when I was a year behind Tommy Amaker, and they graduated a whole bunch of great players my junior year. Senior year, they had Demetrius and a bunch of other players. It didn't matter. They still had Woodson on their jersey, and they still were top dog. I mean, they ended up getting third, but we had to knock them off. That the history doesn't mean a lot.
I'm just agreeing.
Days are long gone.
I'm just agreeing with you. It's the same thing with, like I said, we talked about Potomac as a graduate is there. We knew walking in the gym, that was 10 points.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that you have that now being in my 6th year, we've made the program what it is and have this aura about us that we are the team to beat. And I tell our guys all the time, that it's a big deal when you lose a regular season game and somebody celebrates like they won the championship.
Yeah.
So I think that's the level we put ourselves at in our area. Now we just have to, take that and make the next step. And unfortunate for you guys, I hope that happens for us and not y'all. So
that just makes high school basketball so compelling, So look, now I want to talk about a little bit about how are you guys going to be different coaches in 2021 than you were in 2019? I mean, last year when the season started, you were just happy to have a season. Your kids hadn't played summer league. They hadn't played AAU. You were just trying to get them in the gym, trying to get the gym disinfected, get an hour of practice in and get them out of there and disinfect the gym again. So, but now that that's hopefully over, how are you a different coach now than you were 2 years ago? I mean, what did you learn during COVID? Or, you know, is it business as usual? Why don't we just go in the same order, and Coach Ewell, why don't you go first?
Man, I can, you know, I'm sure all of us will say something very similar. We're just so excited to be back in the gym on a regular basis. It's nice to have green days and workouts and open the gym in the morning and get kids get shots up and things like that. So that's been, you know, really rejoice in that, having that opportunity. Otherwise, I think it's business as usual. I think one thing that's really, really neat, and Tony hit on it earlier, is like having cameras in your gym and you can film practice every day. I used to try to do it with huddle and have somebody up in a ladder and, you know, things like that. But now I don't have to do that. And it's great to come home after practice and download to get a practice and watch and get better. So I think that's really, you know, some of the neat things that, you know, using more technology is probably one of the things that's happened over the last 2 years more than anything. Last year we really had to find different ways to get better throughout the season. So you were using huddle and doing virtual meetings and things like that to get better because you didn't have the time in the gym. Now you got the time in the gym and you learned some technology things where you're using both of those to get better. So like, I think those are the things that are really, really neat. But, you know, all in all, I think it's, you know, back to the grind. So I'm really just excited, you know.
Well, thanks, Doug. How about you, Coach Houston? What are you doing anything different than you did 2 years ago, or are you going back to your same routine?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I noticed that, you know, one of the strengths of our program is our off-season conditioning and just organization of our off-season. And we don't do a ton of green days, you know, but we get together a lot and, you know, we lift and, you know, we work on stuff and work on our, you know, speed and strength. And, you know, last year just being on the track and that, you know, wasn't it. So I know 2 years ago, our last game, we played South County. We went into the game. I had like 15 or 18 sets that I knew that we could run, you know, whatever night. And then last year in the last game of the season, I think I had 4. It's like 4 plays that I thought I could call. Then I only felt comfortable running 2 because guys didn't know what to do. So I think this year having an off season, we're back to a little bit of not 18 plays, nothing, but back to running, looking more, I think, like West Potomac looks. I think we're pretty known to be pretty organized and kind of get after it. And, you know, the technology piece, I think that Coach Ewell said is really important. We're able to have meetings like virtual meetings as opposed to, you know, having to meet in person and, you know, we're able to share stuff. As a teacher, you know, I'm using a lot of the same tools that we use in Schoology and in Google Classroom to, you know, to share information with his kids and stuff that I certainly was never doing a couple of years ago. So, you know, definitely, I think those things will really change it, you know, change the game. And Doug's talking about, you know, practices and everything like that, getting filmed and using huddle. I mean, I think adding all those things is just going to add to the value of this season.
Great. Coach Bentley, how about you? Anything new for this year that you have planned?
I think it hit on what both the guys just said. It's pretty much the same thing. I think we've been able to work our way into the weight room more. And again, but graduating the upperclassmen with this young group that I have. I'm trying to start it all back over. So introducing them to the weight room where these kids are just coming from middle school. You remember with the COVID, they weren't even in school. So introduce them and explaining to my kids that you're in high school now, you have a trainer. You know, these kids didn't know they had a trainer. They can have a trainer to go to and get taped and things like that for any kind of injury. So just implementing a daily weight room regimen with our program, along with the huddle. I have an AD. I got to give my AD a plug. A new AD, Nate Haley, has been nothing but instrumental, not just for the basketball team, but for all sports at Wakefield, trying to be on the same playing field with other schools. He asked me, what does such and such have? And then he goes out and tries to get it. And us having the huddle, the access in our gym with the camera up there where you can just take my phone and press a button and we record in practices is unbelievable. And, you know, 20 years ago, I would never thought anything like that. So being able to incorporate the new things into it. And then also as far as me being one of the old cats is, you know, I used to always think you got 2 hours, 2.5 hours in the gym. I'm not so much more that COVID has changed me in that aspect where if we get an hour and a half, we're good, but we want to get in and be productive, not waste a lot of time. So if we do get an hour and a half, in the gym, that's fine. But I used to be one of those guys, 2 hours. And then also Thanksgiving break, we can't practice. No, I used to go crazy when they said you couldn't practice on that Wednesday. No, if we can't practice, we can't practice. I'm getting a little bit older now, enjoying things a little bit more. And I hope my former players come back and say I'm soft. I know you guys have heard that because I want to keep my job because some of the things that I said or did in 2002, I couldn't say or do now. So, it's just a little bit different that I'm trying to keep my job. And these kids are a little bit, as we would say, sensitive. So you've got to be able to know what you say. And the Wakefield parents are now no different from, I won't mention any other schools, but they're not any different. So before they wouldn't question anything. They would drop their kid off as a freshman and say, Coach Bentley, he's yours for 4 years. Now they're asking questions and there was never that before. So just little different things that we try to do, being more involved with the weight room, more involved with technology and just keeping everybody informed. But again, I'm happy to be back in the gym. And I think after being this long, I feel rejuvenated. I feel like I could do another 20 years, which I know I'm not going to, but I feel like I could do another 20 years. And with this group that I have, I like them. And, I don't think they're good enough for anybody to steal them. So I think they might be at Wakefield for 3 years. So it's be a great experience if they do stick around for the next 3 years. It'll be a lot of fun.
Coach Bentley, you just remind me that the things we used to take for granted, like you're just glad to be coaching now. It's like the little things in life. We appreciate them now. We may not have even done that. Just 2 years ago.
We did that because once they started taking this away and taking that away, you had to adapt. Yeah. And you can cry about it or whatever, but you have to adapt. And then it just gave you, when I got back into the gym, it just felt like this is where I belong. Like we all know this is what we do. Like I'm a basketball coach. I'm Dave. I know you're a teacher. I know you guys are all teachers, but they know you as the basketball coach. That's what you do. And these kids come back, they remember you and they take care of you. So when I was away from the gym for that long, it was funny because everybody was, we got to worry about the kids' mental health. What about our mental health? I missed it too. You know what I mean? I wanted to be back in the gym with the kids and, just seeing them and talking to them and laughing and joking was so good for me and my mental health as well too. So it's just good to be back coaching with a full slate of schedule. I hope we can get through it. I think everybody's doing better now with COVID and the restrictions and things that we're doing. So hopefully we can get a full season in and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, you guys are so lucky to do what you do. I always wanted to be a basketball coach, and your kids are very, very lucky to have you guys because you guys are all excellent role models and obviously great coaches as well. Coach Craig, what about you? Are you are you a different coach than you were 2 years ago? What kind of things are you doing that are maybe a little bit different?
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways I am. I think in some ways I'm not. I think in terms of something different, it used to be, you make sure your kids got to the gym by 6 o'clock for a 6:30 game, and you would have this long lead up. They would be sitting watching the JV game. And then last year, they didn't want them doing that. The kids would show up at 6:45. They'd go right into a classroom. They'd get dressed. You'd have your pregame talk and be out on the floor. And one of the things I found is, and then after the game, they wanted you out of the gym. So sometimes you didn't even have a chance to really talk to your team after the game and they were gone. And I actually found I actually enjoyed that a little bit. I think probably the kids enjoyed it a little bit. I think sometimes I had the tendency to over talk before and after games, almost over coach them. And I think last year, one of the things I found freeing was the fact that game nights weren't, from 5:30 till 9:30. We were in the gym at 6:45 and we were out by 8:45. And I think the kids, I got more attention from the kids in terms of paying attention to things that you were saying because you were seeing them a little bit less. And I think that's something that we're going to experiment a little bit with this year is maybe trying to shorten up game nights a little bit. I try to not coach less, but not over coach them as much as we did. I think we just had so much time in the past. And I think now you're learning how to, like Coach Bentley said, be a little bit more efficient with your time. But then there's part of me, I don't think I've changed at all. In fact, it's interesting, after we had our season last year, winter sports were the first ones to go. And then my AD actually got our winter sports coaches together on a conference call like this and was talking about what, I'm going to pass along some advice to our fall and spring sport coaches on how to coach during a pandemic. And I was listening to all the other coaches and they were like, well, you got to be nicer to the kids. They're stressed out, blah, 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 blah. And I actually said my experience was the exact opposite. I think the kids wanted us to coach them hard and really get into them because that was normal for them. Like, I think if nothing else has happened in this pandemic, and I feel it as a teacher in the classroom, I feel it as a coach, I do feel that kids are more appreciative now of their teachers and coaches than maybe they had been in the past. Not that, teenagers don't like school, right? Like, they don't want to go. Most of them don't want to go, right? Like, I didn't want to go to school every day when I had to go either. But I feel like they are more appreciative of the time that the adults give them now than maybe that was the case before. And I feel like my players in particular were more coachable last year because they wanted the normalcy of being coached and being held accountable when they did something wrong. I was probably tougher on them last year because I kind of went the other way. Like, no, I'm not going to feel sorry for you because you're going through this pandemic. Guess what? Everyone else in the world is going through it too. You're no different than anyone else. Normalcy, accountability, it still matters. It's not, you can't be unaccountable for things because life is hard right now in the pandemic, and we're all going through that, and we should be held accountable for that. So in some ways, I felt like I was maybe more difficult on them. And I think the kids liked that. I last year was one of the more enjoyable years I've ever had in terms of my players. And I thought they really bought in and they played as a unit, as a team, really, really well together. And it was not our most talented group, but they just bought in. I felt like last year that was something that I enjoyed and I found more freeing. So I think in some ways I've adapted a little bit, but I think in some ways, it hasn't changed me that much. I think it's a little bit of both.
Coach Rick, I think one of the reasons why you felt the way your kids felt that way is they played basketball even though they weren't even in class. So basketball, therefore, is important.
It was the most normal thing going on for them last year was coming to practice, even if it was an hour and 15 minutes. That was the most normal part of their day. And it was also the most interaction they had as a group with other people for a long time. They were actually in the same room with other people. And anybody who's taught as in this virtual environment knows interaction is one of the things that I think we all miss the most about being in the classroom or being on the court with your team. And for that hour and a half every day, that was like the normal world for them. And I think even though they had to wear masks, and even though I didn't hear a lot of complaining about it, because I think they were just happy to be out on the basketball court playing basketball and being in a room with their teammates and their coaches and kind of spending time with other people. I think that was eye-opening for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think I agree. So, thanks, Judge. Well, Coach Carlos, what about you? I remember last year when we talked, that you were lucky enough that some of your kids were tied into different private gyms and they got a chance to train in the fall going into 2020-21 season. But what have you learned over the last 2 years, and what are you implementing this year that you might not have done in 2019?
Just for us, I just feel like it's just a more emphasis on skill development. We spend a lot more time than I've ever done in the past couple of years on just our guys getting better and really working on their flaws. So that to me, that's been the biggest thing for us is skill development and weight room has been our, that's what has helped us a lot over the past couple of years. And it's really just those two things. We put a lot of emphasis on shooting, like a lot, before practice, during practice, and after practice. And also, I only go an hour and a half now, and it's perfect.
Yeah. And before COVID, you may have gone longer than an hour and a half?
I was going 2.5, right. 2 a days, all of that. Now I don't do as much. Right.
Yeah. You're doing more with less. Well, Coach Sherman, what about you? What are you guys doing that's a little bit different and then that you're going to maintain post-COVID?
Well, I don't think I'm doing anything that's overly different. I was always a guy that didn't necessarily like to practice 2 hours because I played for a college coach that thought you had to practice 2.5 hours in February. So I remember when I said, if I ever become a coach, I am not going to do that. So we were always around probably an hour 45 anyway. But it was funny enough, our first, practice after tryouts, when you could, you got your guys in there and you're having, a full practice and you got the 2-hour block. I remember at one point, I looked at my watch and we were moving through the practice plan. I'm like, I said, God, 2 hours feels like forever now. What I'm saying? So it's just funny enough that I was already a person that didn't really go over an hour 45. I mean, by the end of the season, I might only go about 45 minutes to an hour. But it still feels like you're in the gym for an extended period of time because you had such a window last year where it's like you have to be done by this time so we can clean up and get ready for the next team to come in and practice. He talked about his, I liked, skill development is a huge thing for us. I feel like it gets guys better and, God forbid they actually learn how to play basketball when they're not during the season with whoever their AAU coaches or trainers are. But skill development, learning how to play and why they're doing stuff is highly important for us. I like to bring our guys into the classroom and talk to them about what we got going on that day in practice and after kind of, debrief and talk over what we did. Clearly, we couldn't do that stuff last year. So I'm happy to be back doing that. And then kind of what, Tony touched on as far as like, you had your young guys. We have some guys that have not gone through our legit preseason and an off season with us. So this was really a lot of their first times experiencing that. And you could see the shock that it was to allow their system having to get up, condition, and lift and do all the things that we try to do to get guys prepared if they, have the chance to play at the next level. And so doing those things, being able to do that, being able to kind of teach and do a lot of stuff that we wanted to do. Like I said to you guys before, I had the luxury of having some experienced guys and two really good guards. So, and last season was such a sprint, you felt like you were cutting corners a lot with stuff. And just be like, all right, we don't have time for this. We got to do this. I don't have enough time to put this in or do that. I'm enjoying the fact that you can take that extra time to really make sure people understand things and get what they need to get so you can have the success later on in the season that you might not have earlier on because you're still kind of learning as you go. Last year, we're just like, listen, if you got it, you don't. If you don't have it, that means you're not going to play. So I don't have time to sit here and teach you things for days at a time. So, and like I said, it's funny enough, like I said, I'm only in year 6, but I got a guy that's on our staff this year that played for me and was on that 2019 team that went to the state tournament. And he tells me I've gotten soft. So it doesn't take long, I guess, for you to start getting soft and doing things different. And I was like, these kids aren't the same as y'all, but I still hold them to a certain standard. But I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like murder them? Like, y'all tell me I'm soft and I'm running them every time they miss a layup. So it's like, what do you want me to do? Well, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Coach. One thing I like to talk about, and I know parents that are listening and would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. I know it's very hard for kids who are trying to play at the next level to figure out what the heck they're going to do. It's, first of all, players that are playing in college got extra eligibility. Many kids were taking prep years anyway, taking extra years. There's a log jam at the college level. Whether you're a Division I player or not, I mean, you have to really stand out. There's not going to be any doubt if you're a Division I player these days. Everyone's going to know it when you enter the gym. We probably already know it right now going into the season. But what do you guys? What's your advice to parents and players that want to play at the next level? In your eyes, what are the opportunities at the Division III level, and also obviously Division II and Division I level? I mean, and what are you telling your kids this year? And has that message changed at all in the last year or two? Coach Ewell, you want to go first?
It's funny that you asked that question. This afternoon I was glancing around, looking at scores for Division III schools. I think Division III rosters are probably the most difficult rosters around. Some teams got 20 kids on a team, and it's difficult. I think that
and the schools are expensive.
Well, I mean, that's very true. You got to find the state division, the Division III schools like Christopher Newport and Mary Washington and places like that. The others are very expensive. I agree, but I talk to the kids all the time about their resume. We talk about their resume more than anything else. And when I talk about their resume, I talk about their grades, what electives they're taking, what's selling you, because you got to sell yourself, because there's a lot of talent out there. And, the difference between Division III ball and low Division I ball, there's not that much difference. Mm-hmm. And I think that people got to understand that, it's being seen, going to camp, going to, team camp or something like that. And they see you and they gravitate to you. But the head coach from Bridgewater was at our school a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about, well, I got 3 Division I transfers that just couldn't fit. And so, I mean, it's hard. I think, you know, and basketball is one of those sports where, how do you say this? There's a lot of kids that get recruited that don't pan out because they just can't handle the adversity of competing. They're at your school, and you know they're freshmen and they're on the varsity, or they're sophomores and they're starting, and they're this and that and they're that and this, and then they kind of forget how to work, and then they face some adversity. They go somewhere and they struggle a little bit, and it's just tough. And so I remind these kids, your resume, and you got to come to work every day. You know, you can't show up to work late every day and think you're going to get a paycheck. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Coach. Well, Coach Houston, you played Division I, Coppin State, MEAC. And what do you think for the kids today? Is it tougher for the kids today than it was when you played?
Well, I would say, yeah, I hate answering those questions because then I'm talking like pre-internet and all that stuff, right? Trying to aging yourself. But like adding AAU transferring has hurt. That hurts kids that, you know, just hop teams. But my main thing is to see the kids need to see the level. They need to actually go see the level. One of my players plays at Hood College, and which is Division III, and he graduated in 2020. And we went and saw Hood College played GW, a Division I school, like 2 weeks ago, maybe. And I encourage like parents and kids who think their kids are Division I should certainly go watch when a Division I and a 3 school play, or Division II and a 3 school play. Because we saw, I mean, my guy was good, all conference and all, and we saw a lot of really good players in the Division III Hood team. And before they even jump ball, you could tell right away, well, shoot, they're going to get destroyed. Like everybody on their team is a solid 5 inches shorter than everybody on George and GW's team. And GW, while they're a solid team, they're not projected to be a Final Four team in the NCAA tournament. So like, you know, seeing the level, you know, I have parents that say, you know, we have no interest in talking about Division III. We only want to talk about Division I. And I'm like, well, you don't even have no Division III schools calling right now. Like, you know, say like, that's crazy talk. And when you see and hear parents say stuff like that, and then they've never been to a Division I practice, to see the guy that doesn't get a lot of burn is better than every player you probably ever seen or kids ever played against. So, I mean, my message to all of my players is certainly go be courtside, be right there to see a George Mason practice where they always open the practice up, and this, you know, to see and hear how the coaches are handling them in practice. See how those guys, if you think that you're good enough, like I think Doug's right, Ewell's right. It's hard to make a Division III roster when they have 21 guys or 18 guys in the team. You know, it's a challenge to make that. And when kids think that they are just above a level and they've actually never seen the level, I mean, that just boils me up, because it kind of takes away from, diminishes the skill level of players at a Division III and Division II. So it's frustrating to hear everybody say they're Division I kid. It's sometimes you hear coaches say, I got 4 or 5 Division I kids. And of course, it's not true. So my advice to parents and kids would be to go see it. A lot of the coaches, if you hit them, they'll let you go to practice, you know, and sit there. So
I want to touch on what you said really quick, man, because as I'm going to say this, I'm not going to say anybody's name. We had a coach in this area say that he had 7 scholarship players on his basketball team. And that dude and his team came in last place.
Won 4 games.
Bad coach.
Listen, I'm not going to say his name. Los knows exactly what I'm talking about. But,
Carlos has like 7 scholarship players on his team, but they're all like legitimate players.
but you still didn't hear Los say that, even though he knows that he does. You know, it's just such an insane thing when people say, I'm this level or I have this many this. It's like you put a lot of pressure on yourself making statements like that, especially when you have no idea what it takes to be there. So it just, you know, I hate hearing parents say it. I hear hearing kids say it, but I think I hate hearing coaches say it more, especially when you can see that they have no idea what they're talking about. And it takes away from the credibility of us who have actually seen it, been around it for a while, played it, whatever it may be. because, like I said, I didn't mean to cut people off, but I think it has a lot to do with why we're all losing kids to private schools so much, because they think that's the answer. And in reality, you're just not as good as you think you are.
And I
they
think the
wanna
coach is putting undue pressure on himself by talking like that.
They're putting undue pressure on themselves for no reason, because they're still not good.
Exactly. Well, Coach Bentley, you tell a great story when you brought kids down to Randolph-Macon to watch a college game several years ago, and I know that you told the kids that it was a Division III game. They went down there like, well, coach, these boys can really play. This is a great game. You're like, well, that's Division III. And I think it's, the Division III basketball in the state of Virginia is very tough. Obviously Division II basketball, the CIAA team is extremely tough as well. But anyway, have things changed in your eyes, or just as tough or even tougher now?
Nope. I had my meeting the other night. I told my parents what been telling them for 20 years. I can't make a college coach take your son. That's my number one rule. And if you're Division I, you wouldn't be at Wakefield. I mean, it's just that simple. And there's a lot of coaches that think they want to keep a kid that's so good and all that type of stuff. We can't, some of us schools can't offer what some of those players have. I know Doug has had some Division I players, and they went off and panned off, but most of the kids, man, they don't really stick around because of what they think going to a bigger school, private school, whatever, is going to get them to the next level. It is what it is, but I always tell them off the break, if you, I can't make a college coach take your son. And if you think you're a Division I player, you probably wouldn't be here at Wakefield. So that's what it boils down to me. I think I did that years ago. I haven't had to do it in a long time, taking kids to go see Division III basketball and let them think what they think they can play there. And have most of the part they can't. The end game for me with this coaching thing is getting these kids to college and getting their degree. I don't think I've ever had an opportunity to coach a kid that's going to go to the NBA. I had a kid, Doug can tell you, Corey Moore was probably one of the best players to ever put on a Wakefield uniform. Probably could have played low Division I, Division II for sure. Went to Virginia Wesleyan. He was a big fish in a little pond, scored over 2,000 points in his career, and he has his degree.
I tried to recruit him when I was at Mount Olive that year. I tried. I want to say that.
Yes,
so yes. I want to say, so I was one of the people that saw what you saw.
and each kid's story is different as well too. You don't know the backgrounds. You don't know did a kid need a smaller setting? That kid go to a big school, would he get lost right away and be back home by January? So you got to think about what kid's situation is, and then get in good with the families and talk to the families. And if you get that parents that understand where you're coming from, I don't possess to have major Division I players, but I have a lot of kids who went to Division II, Division III level in junior college, because there's a basketball place out there for somebody. And if you just look and take your time, there's going to be if you truly want to play it, you can find a basketball place for you to play, whether you're going to pay for it or you're going to be free. So I think every situation is different. And then you get the kids like Doug had, like Mike Robinson had, the kids that come back to their original schools and have a great career. Those are blessings. So each kid, each situation is different. I'm not for it or against it, whatever fits the kid. I'm like Sherman in a way. If you come into Wakefield, I'm gonna love you like a son. If you transfer out, good luck to you. And it's that simple. I mean, I've been at Wakefield forever, and I tell the kids every year, the common denominator of Wakefield basketball is Coach Bentley and Coach Willis. We gonna be here, and we used to say this all the time, we're gonna be here till your son come here. And now, unfortunately, Buck's son is actually playing for Wakefield this year. So we've been around for a long time, man. And we always tell them, common denominator is us two, either conform or good luck to you.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Coach. Well, Coach Craig, last year in soccer again, the two-time region player of the year, signed in Mary Washington. And he started for them and had a great season this year. My son's one of the best players on his team, returning starter, all region player, just signed in Mary Washington for next year, Division III. These are great players, and they're just happy. They're just happy to be on the Division III roster, and they're happy they're going to be playing. What are you seeing now? Is it the same things you're kind of seeing over at Woodson?
Frankly, I don't really know anymore what colleges look for, what colleges look at. I mean, a lot of the assistant coaches that are at these colleges that are doing the recruiting now are 24 years old. I'm not sure they know what they're looking at when they see a good player, when they don't see a good player. I think with the recruiting with basketball, kids get taken on tools. If they're long, they're athletic enough, They will get multiple opportunities. The kids who aren't will normally get kind of pushed down to a lower level. What I tell the kids is, the one thing I tell my kids, and I've had several guys, at different levels. I've had some Division I guys, I've had some Division II guys, I've had some Division III guys. I've had guys that have, scored over 1,000 points at the Division I level that played professionally. I've had some Division III guys that have had great careers. I've had some guys go D1 who didn't have great college careers, and same thing at Division III level. It just never quite worked out. But what I tell my kids more than anything else is go where you're wanted. Whichever school recruits you the most and is the most aggressive and wants you, they're going to give you time when you get on campus to figure it out. If you don't blow it out of the water right away, they're going to give you time because they think you can play at that level, and they're going to give you time to figure it out. Whether that's Division I, II, or III, anyone who gets to play at the college level is a way better basketball player than I ever was. I never had the opportunity to play anywhere. I could barely make my high school team. So go where you're wanted. Whichever school recruits you the hardest, the ones that are on you the earliest and on you the longest and are calling you the most, those are the ones who really want you. And go to the place where the coach really wants you. A lot of these kids will put off Division III schools because, I want to go D1. I want to go D1. And yeah, they end up maybe they'll get a D1 scholarship, but it's going to be in like April, May. If they don't come on campus and kill it right away, they're being over recruited the next year. The coach is bringing in new kids that they think are better than you. You got a scholarship because you were the last one left at the table and they gave you a scholarship. So I always tell my kids, go where you're wanted. The last kid that I've had that really went on and played at the college level really successfully, still not Christopher Newport, Jason Agner. And Jason was a heck of a high school player, like a really good. He scored 25 points in the state championship game. Was a really good player, could shoot it from anywhere. Not the biggest kid, not the most athletic kid, but a really tough, smart kid who knew how to play. He's got the all-time school record for made threes at Division III. He's got over 1,000 points in 3 seasons. He's finishing up this year. He's a borderline All-American at that level. Really good player. And I had a Division I school call me after the state championship game. Division I school, a lower level Division I school, but a Division I school. Asked me if he would be interested in doing a preferred walk-on at their school. If they saw him playing the state championship, they probably, he was probably a little bit better than they originally thought he was, even though I called them and begged them to take him earlier. And I had a former player play really well at that school in the past. And they asked me if he would do that. And I said, well, I can ask him, but I can already tell you what he's going to say. And they were like, what's he going to say? I'm going to say, he's going to tell you to stick it up your rear end. Because you know what? You didn't think he was good enough 4 months ago, but now he goes and gets 25 points in the state championship game and locks down the other team's best player and hits threes from all over. I could have told you 5 months ago he was a good enough player to play for you. You play 2-3 zone at the Division I level. He doesn't have to be the most athletic guy in the world. And he made 5 out of 9 threes behind the NBA line in the Cap Classic prelim game and won the MVP of the game. Of course he was good enough to play at your school, but your 25-year-old assistant coach got in your ear and told you he wasn't. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, he's played against really good competition and done well. And I think the thing that college coaches have the hardest time quantifying is how hard a kid's going to work when he gets there and how badly he wants it and how smart and competitive he is. Because you can have all the physical talent in the world, but if you're not smart, you're not competitive, and you won't work to get better. A lot of kids get to Division I level and they don't want to work because they've made it. That's hard to quantify. And if you can't do that, you're going to have a hard time at the next level, at any level, Division I, II, or III. So the guys who are the most successful ones are the ones who generally work the hardest and continue getting better when they leave. So my message to kids is, hey, go where you're wanted. Go where the coach is going to give you a little bit of time to figure this stuff out. And you don't have to come on campus the first day and kill everybody in a scrimmage, or you're going to get buried on the bench.
Yeah, that's great, Coach. Thanks. Well, Coach Carlos, it sounds like this conversation is probably most relevant to you, this group, because you definitely have some talent this year coming up. What are you seeing, and how are you advising your kids that are being looked at and are thinking about the next level?
For the kids that have D1 potential, I just talk to them about really, like, this is their biggest summer AAU wise. And I just talk to them about trying to find the right AAU team, because the way it seems is if you get on the right AAU team, no matter your skill level, you're going to get those type of looks. So, it's imperative for a Northern Virginia public high school kid to go to the right AAU organization where they're going to get seen. So, for those kids, I tell them, go seek out those programs for kids that's not on the D1 level. I just tell them, find the best. Like, I feel like Novacast and Pro, they do a great job of running their programs for northern region area. Higher levels decent, but I try to send my kids to programs where they're going to get coached the right way. So, I try to push my kids in those directions. But as far as college, I don't have that many conversations with them like that. But I really try to direct them and try to put them in the right direction so that they can get seen by AAU programs. Because no matter how good we're going to be this particular year or how good we were last year, we're always going to get overlooked for whatever reason. And but if they get on the right AAU team, it can open up the floodgates for some of those guys.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Coach. Well, Coach Sherman, you were a player even before AAU got crazy and the exposure was where the AAU programs gave the players so much exposure. You got a lot of exposure playing ball for Potomac yourself because you're at the state tournament every year. You got a chance to play on a pretty big stage. What about your kids? How do you advise them? I mean, you played at William and Mary. How do you advise them to get their exposure? And what's your advice to them in picking their schools?
Man, it's such a difficult process now because it's, to touch on the things that that Doug Craig said and Lowe said, it's such a crapshoot now because you really don't know what they're looking for, other than someone being 6'7" and lanky. And it's like everybody can't be built that way. So, you think guys at certain levels, you try to talk to certain coaches about your guys, and I get it. And I talked about how some guys won't necessarily tell the truth about what they got, but for the most part, guys that I talk to, they're pretty good at assessing their players and what they can do and being honest about it. And if you call a coach, it's for a reason. It's like, listen, man, this kid can really play. I saw Doug's team up close and personal in the regional playoffs, and he probably had 4 guys that I felt like their phone should have been ringing off the hook. Jason plays with one of my guys right now that I could not understand for the life of me why he wasn't more heavily recruited, kid Devin Parrish, that played for us, who I thought was one of the better players in the state his senior year. And he was 6'3", could play the point, could shoot it at 40% from 3, and was like 85 to 90 from the line. They finish over the rim, and I could not get anybody to pay attention to this kid. Christopher Newport loved him, and that's where he's at playing right now. Kid Zach Blue.
Sherman, I don't mean to interrupt, but don't you think he's better at Christopher Newport right now than being somewhere?
Right. No, listen, I'm with you. I'm big about go where they love you at. The reason, I to this day, I probably think I should have went somewhere different. But the reason I went to William and Mary, I got recruited by bigger schools, bigger conferences, and other places. They were the first school to send me a letter, the first one. And they built that relationship from when I was 15 years old. And when it was time for me to make a decision, I said, I know this staff. I know they really want me. They told me the lie that coaches tell you about, well, you have to commit right now because we got somebody else waiting in the weeds, and because they really wanted it to happen. And, and a lot of times you talk about kids being the leftovers of what happened. If they're not asking you to commit in November, they don't really want you because that's the guys that they really want. So I'm glad that Devin went there. I think it was a better situation for him because they really wanted him. But during the time when I was talking about kids and how they could play, I couldn't believe it that I wasn't getting more as far as like the recruitment. That Zach Blue kid that's at Mary Washington right now. He's playing there. It's considered his freshman year because last year, COVID year. This kid was really good, and it was the same thing. And I tell kids, you're in a situation in public school, you have to win to get noticed. You can't be on a team that doesn't win. And not only do you have to win, you have to make a state run. Because you talked about as far as us being in the state tournament, it helped me in my recruitment. But also what helped me is that we were playing against teams in the state tournament that had 4 Division I kids on them. Ronald Curry being the player of the year in the country. Our district, we were playing against teams that had 2 to 3 Division I kids on their teams. And that's not something you see anymore at the public school level. I mean, Tony said how good have they been for the last 20 years? And he's saying that if you're at Wakefield, you're probably not a Division I kid. That's insane to hear that. But he is telling something that's somewhat of the truth. And it bothers me that he has to be in that sort of mindset. You know, I'm glad for Los that he's got kids that are kind of getting that attention now and everything like that. I know that Mike had a couple kids that were like that, but a lot of those kids that you see like that are kids that left the private school to come back. They didn't start with you. You over at Westfield, you probably had one of the most under-recruited kids of all time that went on to college and has been murdering a kid, Blake Franz, that went to Richmond. How is it possible that that kid wasn't getting recruited more? I know that you were on the phone talking to whoever, and nobody wanted to believe you, right? And just like you were just talking. And so it's crazy. You try to give them advice, go where they love you, but at the same time, everybody's an option until they're not, is what I tell our kids. Whoever calls you, I don't care what level it is, you love them, you make them feel like they're important. And then when you have to finally call them and listen, I made a decision this way, that's fine. But don't think you're above anything. I tell the kids that, and I tell our parents that. At whatever level decides to recruit you, it's a blessing in itself. So don't look down at anything because your goal might be this. And that's not saying that, you can't get there. I talked about Trey Nelson. He's at Massanutten right now at prep school. I told him, as good as I thought he was and as great as he was for us last year, I was like, is it going to be something that's going to change your recruitment by going there? Are you going to go to prep school and still be playing in the ODAC? Or are you going to go there and it's going to be something more? And luckily enough for him, he's got a couple Division IIs that are now interested in him because he played well over the summer. But the AAU situation, it's so many AAU teams now that coaches can't really zero in on who's good and who's not because they're at a tournament with like probably 80% of the teams there stink. So they're not sitting in a gym watching a bunch of good players play against each other. So it's just like you just happen to have to play good when somebody's walking through the gym. Before I even became a head coach, I remember seeing the Grayson Allen before he blew up. I was coaching AAU that year. And I remember he had a really good game against a good team. And next thing you know, the entire Duke staff was at his AAU game. I'm sure he didn't just get good then. So it's hard to really know. You try to give the best advice you can to kids and parents, and do the things that they can. And then, and the advice to what AAU team they should play for to showcase their talents, what tournaments they're going to play in. And then, just hope that they don't leave your school once they get really good. That's all you can really do.
So I meet with my parents, prospective college parents, annually, and you'd be surprised with how many of the parents don't know. I give them the kids transcripts. I give them Division I, Division II scale, sliding scale. I give them the information about Division III. I talk about NAIA, which 90% of them have never heard of. NAIA. I talk about junior college, and I talk about prep school, and just as these are all the options that you got. Like, it's not, people think you just have CBS, NCAA options. And I just think, I mean, I don't have an exact number, but it's high 75% of the parents have no idea there's options that I've talked about. Like, right. So, we're saying, Division I, II, III are options, but like NAIA, they give scholarships. Division I, they give scholarships. And it's good ball there too. And people don't have a clue. So, I mean, it's just, hopefully people are watching this and hearing this and realize the parents need to they can educate themselves. Like, there's YouTube stuff that's just out there for free that's going to tell you exactly like where you need to be with your SAT scores, with your GPA, who are you? If you're a 2.5 GPA kid and you're like, oh, I got it made. Do you, 2.5 when 2.4 is the scale, and they're kind of concerned that if you slip up in a class, it's just a lot of the inside stuff that I think at this point in 2021, a lot of people could really, help themselves out by getting off of some social media site and getting onto some, actual site that's got some information that can help them.
What Coach Houston is saying is a sliding scale with the GPA and the SAT. It's a sliding scale with talent too. The more talented you are, the more they're willing to slide with that GPA. Yeah. The less talented you are, the less they're willing to slide with that GPA. So I always tell my kids, control what you can control. Your grades, you can control. If you have a high GPA, you're going to open more doors for yourself than if you are a marginal academic kid. So I think that's one of the things that isn't stressed enough. Look, very few of us have kids like they're going to have over at PVI where they're recruiting the whole DMV and they're bringing in all-star teams and they're bringing in top 50 guys in the country. Those guys, they don't have to worry about this stuff. But if you're a marginal kid at the Division I level or a Division III level player, your grades are really important. And there are certain schools that just aren't even going to touch you if you don't have a 2.7, 2.8, 3.0, 3.5. I mean, if you're a marginal Division I kid, you might look at the Patriot League. They're not even going to talk to you if you have less than a 3.3, 3.4. They just cross you off the list. So like there are certain things you can control with yourself that you can't let it up to other people. And your grades are certainly one of them. You can't control whether you're 6'7", 6'8", like Coach Rivers and be lanky, but you can control if you got grades. And that's going to open some doors up for you right off the bat.
Yep.
I think the biggest difference is if you go from once all of us started coaching to now, is that I guarantee that 3/4 of the kids 15 years ago past, their parents didn't go to college. And so they were more invested in what we thought and what we could do to help them achieve those goals. Where now a lot of the kids that are playing on our high school teams, they got parents that are college graduates and they know it all. And they seem to know so much that they don't need us as much, or they feel like they don't need us as much until they don't get what they really want. Then they like, hey, coach, we really need your help with this. We really need you to help sell this. And that's a big change where I think our opinion was a lot more valued 15 years ago to what it is now. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, they with so many AAU teams, and we don't even get as contacted as much from college coaches as we used to, because they're relying on someone who coaches them for 6 weeks compared to a guy that's coaching them for 3 years. So I think that's a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the nature of the business, though. To me, like, for the kids that have that potential to be, like, I'm just talking about D1s that have the potential of D1s. They really got to find the right AAU organization that's going to showcase their talents. Like, to me, that's where we are.
Yeah, it's really I don't want to say it's sad, because it sounds like I'm not embracing change, but it used to be the most important person in a basketball player's life was the basketball coach. And you guys have incredible influence still on your kids. But as Carlos said, if you want to make it Division I, there are so many other factors now that are preeminent if you want to make it. And it is the AAU program that is more likely to get you that the vehicle that you're looking for. One thing that Coach Ewell said to me, and I learned so much from all the coaches I talked to you guys. I talked to all you guys, and getting to know Coach Houston now. But if you want to keep great players, one sure way to do it is if they play other sports. So I got a buddy of mine, Keith Leonard. You may know his son, Matthew Leonard, plays at Marshall. He's a great basketball player. He'll start over there and probably be the leading scorer this year. But his dad's not even thinking about private school for his kid, because he's such a great soccer player that all they care about is what soccer club he's in. So the fact that he's a great basketball player is not going to affect his school choice. But it seems like if you want to keep your great players, your best chance is that they play other sports and they're not like obsessed with playing basketball. And can I get on the best basketball team again? Remember that, Doug? We had that conversation a few months ago.
Absolutely, Tyler Scanlon, state player of the year in football, state player of the year in basketball. Love him. Can I get another one? That's what I'm saying. But that's important. Kids are only 18. They play as many things as you can, as long as you can, because it's going to be taken away from you. So you better enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to end with, and guys, this has been great. I wanted to end today real quickly, go around and just talk about what is your advice to your kids. So when I was in high school, all I wanted to do is be a basketball coach. I love basketball. As you guys know, you probably get tired of me hitting you over the head with my basketball knowledge. But one day I went to Coach McKeag, and he was my coach. You guys may know Coach. And he said, Julie, don't be a basketball coach. You can do other things. You don't be a basketball coach. It really made me think. And it was in some ways it was kind of a shame because that was where my passion was. But one thing I've realized talking to you guys today is how passionate you guys are and how much you're enjoying it now that it was almost taken away from you last year. I can feel the enthusiasm on Zoom today. And I think we all are more appreciative of high school basketball. But anyway, what is your advice to kids? And hopefully it's not the same as Coach McKegg's advice to me was, but what is your advice to kids that want to get into coaching? Or what is your advice to assistant coaches that want to go to the next level? And any other closing thoughts that you have as well? Yeah, Coach Ewell, you want to go first?
The one thing you can say about this, that everybody that's here, didn't get a job at 20 something. And the hard part for today's youth or younger coaches, they want it right now. They want to be 25 and be the head coach. And, I didn't get my first varsity job until I was 32, and I think that that growth makes us have more passion for it. I think that that's probably the one thing that's changed is that, we took our shots. I was a freshman coach at Lake Braddock, became the JV coach at Westfield, and then moved up that way. Some of these kids just want instant gratification. I want it right now. And I think they might lose their passion for it a little bit quicker than we do because we went through that period. And so that's why we're lifers. And that's what we are. Everybody on here right now is nothing but a basketball lifers or just coaching lifers. It don't matter. The day I quit coaching basketball, I'm gonna be right out there coaching football again. Just because that's what I am. I'm a lifer. I'm a lifer of coaching kids and trying to get them to be the best that they can be so that they can have more success away from the game when it's all over. Yeah. That's me.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Coach. Coach Houston, what would be your advice to people who want to get into coaching and to succeed at coaching?
Yeah, interesting. Doug said that about getting young guys and stuff. I cracked it at 29. I got the job at 29, but I had been an assistant coach for 7 years. So I had been a freshman coach and the junior varsity coach and assistant varsity coach. I really feel like for young people, you should be able to do I can do everything that's needed on the staff. I've done it before I can do each thing. I push the broom every day. Typically in the past, we have like the youngest guy does sweeps the floor, but I ain't sweep the floor for like a year and a half. Right. So I'm just excited to get out there and sweep the floor. And they're like, Coach, you sweeping the floor? But yeah, why not? It's like, it just feels good to push the broom around my floor. But I think having like, I'm a teacher and I love teaching. And I think I happen to teach basketball. So I love teaching basketball. And I don't really feel like I've gone to work in a while. I'm a U.S. history teacher and African-American history teacher. And I love what I do. And so showing up and doing that is not hard. The hard part, of course, that young coaches need to learn, most of what we do isn't even actually coaching basketball. Like the hard parts are like you show up to the gym and then something happened in second period and somebody did that and during lunch and then it's, somebody missed it's people don't know watching the game. So-and-so missed practice the day before. So how come they ain't playing number 33 and, all that stuff. And like, stuff that we have to, deal with and work out. But I think that's the challenge of the thing. Of like, you get through a whole year and you've gone through a million hurdles and you're still able to come out on the other side. So, when I was a young coach, everything was going great in the first week and I'm like, this is going to be amazing. Nothing's going to go wrong. It's all good. Now I know like, all right, we got through the first week. Great. Something's going to happen week 2. Just get yourself prepared and ready for that. And then, and my last is keep your circle small. Keep your circle small. I have a lot of people I talk to, but I got a real small circle of close people that I'm really communicating with and taking advice from because everybody's got a piece of advice to give, and it isn't always, I'm a Cowboys fan, and I can call every play from my living room, and I'm great at it. Every single play, whether it works or not, I'm amazing at it, and that's how people understand. I think I saw Sherman said earlier about. Actually, I think I had tweeted this. About sitting in the stands. Like my son plays, he's 9, and my daughter plays. And like the amount of the ridiculousness that parents are saying in the stands to the coach of what they should do.
It's absurd.
It's out of it's out of
10-year-olds.
control. It's out
like,
of control for travel 5th grade and travel 7th grade and like the stuff that they're saying. It's out of control. So just kind of keeping it in perspective of what we do. You know, I agree with Doug as well. I'm a lifer as well. I enjoy coaching and teaching people, and I enjoy giving people a message to give back at some point in their lives, which is why I'm, you know, really proud that I have as many coaches that played for me, that wanted to come back to West Potomac and be a part and give back to somebody else. So that was my goal from the beginning, and you know, I'm still able to do it.
Yeah, that's great, Coach. You're a great role model. Well, Coach Bentley, what about you? What do you tell your kids that want to get into coaching? And also, you're a big member of the Arlington, especially South Arlington community. What do you tell folks that want to get to the next level or get into any kind of coaching?
Don't be the coach in your neighborhood. No, it's been great. I mean, I'm Doug started this off great because I think all of us, I'm not for sure, but all of us have started the route. When I first started coaching, I was an assistant varsity basketball coach, and I didn't even know there was money involved with it. My high school coach heard I was home from college and was like, yo, you want to coach? I think you're going to make a great coach one day. And I was like, sure. And at WNL at the time, we had 9 players on the varsity team, and I was the 10th guy. And I practiced every day with those guys. And coach came to me and said, look, I got $400 I can give you out of my check. And I was like, you paying me? Like, I had no idea about money or anything like that. And then the next year I became the freshman coach. So I coached freshmen for 2 years. And in those 2 years time, we were like 26-4, whatever, something crazy. And the varsity job opened up. The Coach Phillips stepped down. And of course, everybody thought I should be the varsity coach. I'm just a freshman coach 2 years. And I'm like, no way, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm like 24 years old, I'm not even thinking about it. And then in comes Bobby Dobson. And Bobby Dobson's still there at Washington Lee. I'm glad he kept me on his staff because, you know, he then moved me to the JV coach. So I did JV for 7 or 8 years at WNL, and then got the big break to come over to Wakefield in 2002. So like Dave said, I do all things. Dave, you push the broom, so do I, but I also do all the laundry because our colors are green and white. I don't want them to come back pink and white. So I do all of the laundry, and I don't, because that was the mentality I had when I was the JV coach at WNL. I did a lot of those things for Bobby that I still do them. I don't see myself as a varsity coach. I think the day that I see myself as a varsity coach, or if I start to listen, oh, you did this, I think that's when things start to go sour. So I still, you know, push the broom. I still wash the clothes. And my kids come and, coach, you picking up the dirty? Yes, it's a part of it, you know, and they see me doing that. So they understand it's nothing bad, you know. So I think going through the ranks of becoming a coach helps. When you get it instantly, it sets you back. I went my first 3 years at Wakefield, unbelievable run. Win a regional championship in my 3rd year, going 28 straight games before we lost the game in the state tournament. I was on top of the world. I thought this is what coaching was going to be like. And I didn't get back there till 2013. So, you know, it takes a while. You appreciate things when it's taken away from you. You work a little bit harder. And just some advice. I mean, when you growing up and you realize that you're only going to be 5'6", 150 pounds, you don't have a college opportunity or pro opportunity. So you might want to coach. And that's what happened with me. I realized I was 5'6", 150. I wasn't growing. I was done. So I wanted to be around the game. And so like Doug, I coached football. And then had to make a decision. I was coaching football and basketball at the same time, but both at the JV level. So I wasn't a head varsity coach. And so I had to make a decision. So in 99, I said, all right, I'm done with football because it was too cold out there in November and October anyway. So I started focusing myself on basketball in 99. And then, you know, in 2002, Wakefield opened up, got the job and been hitting the gate running ever since. And the day I see myself as a varsity head coach, I think that's going to be, I'll be in trouble. So I still see myself as this JV guy working for Bobby Dobson, you know, and I'm still pushing and trying to become the best and reaching it. Because our ultimate goal is winning a state championship, you know, and you can win district, you can win region, but you want to win that state championship before you go out. So getting into coaching, like you said, 90% is all the other stuff. 10% is basketball. You know, people don't understand that. It's just that we love it so much. And I'm a lifer, gonna always be a lifer. You know, you cut me, I'm still blue and gray inside, you know, because I'm a WNL guy. But I've been at Wakefield for so long, man. My skin's starting to turn green. But I enjoy what I'm doing, and I think these new guys coming up, my staff has always been, I've always had somebody on my staff that played for me because I think it's important with that. And I think I stole that from Duke. You know, Coach K always had somebody from Duke on his staff, And I started doing that with guys that wanted to, the responsible, because I've had some kids who wanted to come back and coach and wasn't ready. And so you got to make sure you get the responsible kids. And I think it helps in tough times and tough games. And when I'm yelling or fussing at a kid, one of my assistant coaches can pull him to the side and say, listen, I played for Bentley. This is what he's really saying, things like that. So having those guys on your staff that's been in your program where if I'm doing something in my classroom and I'm going to be 5 or 10 minutes late to practice, my guys already know how to run practice because they've been there. They know how to think. We do the Wakefield way. So it's important. But I agree with you, Doug. Everybody should at least go through the ranks of whether it's coaching summer league, fall league, starting off that way and working yourself into it. But it's a rewarding job. Like I could care if we go 0-22, but if I'm doing something for these kids and they're becoming young men and great citizens, I've done my job. Because at Wakefield, I'm not being judged on wins and losses. It's about these young men. No one has ever come back and said, what was your record in 2007? They'll say, what happened to that kid, Alex Ermer? What happened to George Johnson? What happened to Corey Moore? They talk about the kids. They're not necessarily talking about our record. So I think once I keep that in perspective, that is way bigger than, me, and keep the program in perspective, I think we'll continue having some success.
Yeah. Well, that's great, Coach Benny. Thanks a lot. So Coach Craig, when we talked earlier this year, you talked a little bit about the role of the private trainer, and so maybe when you give your answer, you can also talk about being involved in basketball as a high school coach, because there's so many other ways you can get involved with basketball now as an AAU coach or a private trainer. Sports is such a huge business now. But why is it we coach at the high school? Why is it to be the varsity coach in Woodson? What makes that so special?
Well, I mean, I think I agree with Coach Bentley, Coach Ewell, and Coach Houston. I mean, number one, you pay your dues. I think that's what we're all saying, right? You got to pay your dues. I mean, I was the same way. I was a volunteer freshman summer league coach, and then a volunteer JV assistant. I made no money my first 2 years. So you're not getting into it to be rich. Coach Bentley, he hit on it too, right? We do so much stuff. I mean, you got to fill out, I know in Fairfax County, you got to fill out like 27 pieces of paper before you touch a basketball. A lot of people don't realize that. And, sometimes I'm filling up water bottles. Sometimes I'm sweeping the floor. Like, that's just, it's what you do as a public school coach. I know for me, I wanted to play in the NBA, but there wasn't a calling for slow, unathletic white point guards in the mid-90s in the NBA. So that dream died pretty early with me. But, for me, I just love being around the game. I really enjoy being part of a team and like putting the pieces together to make a team. That's important to me. One of the things I would tell a young coach is, and I think, because a lot of the coaches here are long-term coaches, is you are a high school coach. This is a very important age for kids. That age between like 14 and 20, especially for young boys, they're very impressionable about what goes on around them. And one of the things I tell our young coaches on staff is like, yes, you represent yourself, but you also represent the program and the school, and you got to be a role model for kids. You don't get the right to talk trash from the bench anymore as a coach. That those days are gone. Like, that's not something you should do. I know Coach Rivers probably does it anyway. He like that ties hard with him, but that's not something that we try to do.
I'm not that bad.
Yeah, no. But I do. You see some young guys, they have a hard time separating that stuff. You have to understand that those 14 to 20-year-old boys, see you conduct yourself and how you carry yourself, and it's not so much what I say. I like to think it's more about how you carry and conduct yourself as a person, as an adult. And I think, being a good role model for kids, I always say when kids leave our program, like, the most important thing to me is that they can go on and be productive in their lives. And that when they say they're going to do something, their word actually means something. It doesn't, they don't just say something and then it's just a one-off and then they go do whatever they want to do. They got to be accountable for things. And I think as a coach, you're trying to constantly model that. So that's kind of one of the messages I think young coaches need. And for me, like, I just really enjoy being part of the team. I enjoy the camaraderie of the other coaches. I think that's one of the things that's really great about coaching in this area. I know in the northern, the northern region, the northern tier, whatever we want to call it, I know generally, like everybody on this conference call is somebody I can call up and be like, yo, this is going on. How did you handle that? I've done that a couple of times with Tony Bentley and Coach Houston. I think that's one of our strengths. And this is a great part about being a coach is you got other guys who kind of go through what you go through, and it gives you an opportunity to bounce some ideas. So if you kind of like being a part of a coach and being part of a team and working with kids, I think that are very impressionable and you can really make a difference for their whole life. You know, I don't do so well with adults, but with kids, I enjoy, you know, working with kids. I think that's important. I think that's, you know, growing up how I grew up around coaches, that's just kind of how I always wanted to do things.
Hold on, real quick, they don't understand that this is a fraternity. Like, we are all truly good friends. When the ball goes up in the air, yes, we all want to win. But at the end of the day, while the fans are fighting about what happened, most of the coaches, we probably sitting at a bar having a drink together.
Yeah.
You know, or calling each other, talking about everything. So people don't understand the relationships that we have as a, you know, and I hate when these new coaches come in and think they're better than what they are or whatever it may be. But we are a fraternity, man. And like, we stick together, we help each other out in any kind of situations. But the young coaches that's coming into it, I'm not saying because I'm one of the old guys, but like, respect the elders and let them help you out, man, because you'll find out that everybody will do everything in their power to make you successful and have your program successful. But when you veer off and think you are somebody, y'all know what I'm trying to say. You never have it all.
You never have it all figured out, ever.
Yeah.
There's always a new situation you haven't encountered before. And that's when you got to go to people who, you know, who you respect, who can offer you that opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think on like Tuesdays or Wednesday mornings, Coach Jim Warren, I know that Jim Warden from TC, Mitras, Wickline, a lot of the old timers, they meet and they have breakfast at Waffle House. What's the other one? Pancake House, IHOP. And they meet every week and they just talk about the old basketball games. And there's so much. They're so richer for those experiences and those relationships that they have. And I would love to go one time. But one of these days I want to go and then hopefully document what goes on. But you guys are very lucky to have that fraternity because not many people can really understand what you guys go through, but also how special it really is to have those experiences. Coach Carlos, what about you? Do you what do you tell your guys that want to be coaches, and what advice do you have for aspiring coaches?
I guess the biggest thing I try to be honest with them and let them know that it's like a real grind to get to being a freshman coach to eventually becoming a head varsity coach. I also try to tell them and give them advice to like find a niche of something that you want to coach or do well in, whether it's defense, whether it's offense, whether it's skill development. Like, find one of those niches where you're able to help a varsity coach in one shape or form or another, and stick with that so that you can hang your hat on that when it's your time, and then you could speak elegantly to it once you have your interview process and go through all that. So like, I know for me, like, just for me, I remember like I reached out to Houston and I reached out to Terry a lot. While I was going through my process and as an assistant coach and just trying to get better as an assistant coach, because like Coach Palmer, he was old at the time, so it wasn't as much that he could help me with because he was literally like on his way out. So I talked to House and Terry a lot, and they helped more than me.
That's great, Coach. Coach Sherman, you learned from one of the best. I think Kendall Hayes is a great coach and just a really cool guy. So what about you? I'm sure Coach Hayes had that effect on you. My guess is that he did. And what do you tell your kids, especially the kids like yourself, the point guards, the guys that maybe seem like they understand what's going on? How do you advise them about getting into coaching?
Coach Hayes did have a pretty profound effect. I would say my father was of the tallest because he coached me growing up and was one of the assistant coaches at Potomac when I was actually there and was the JV coach. So obviously that was a big one for me. But Coach Hayes used to let me, during the summer when I would come back home from school, when I actually was able to come home sometimes, he would let me coach the summer league team. And that was kind of like my first little step into seeing the things. And I remember he was running something else and he had me like referee and I had to deal with that. So he would like give me little things to see how stuff was. I think one of the biggest compliments you can get as a player is when one of your coaches say, hey, you should probably think about coaching. because they actually think you know something. And obviously from a point guard's perspective, you would think that more. When I got to the point I was getting ready to graduate from college, they tried to talk me into being a grad assistant at that point. And one of the biggest things I tell people who are aspiring to coach now, I said, do not coach until you are ready to coach kids for how good that they are and not for what you used to do. So that is something I think that is very important. And if you're not ready to coach kids for what they are and not for what you think they should be based off of the type of player or whatever else you were, don't start coaching. And I knew that I was not prepared for that. I knew I still had some, gas and tank, still wanted to play. My last year playing overseas, it's funny enough, I was only 29, about 30 years old, and I started becoming the old head on the team. And so we're doing stuff and working out, and I'm helping some of the younger guys who are in there like 20, 21, some of the foreign guys over there through stuff. I was like, I think I might be about ready for this. And then my first year coaching, it really kind of happened on accident. I thought I was going to keep playing. I was kind of waiting around here from my agent about what I was going to do. And Keith, comes to me, he says, hey, why don't you come help us out while you're at home? I started to help him out, and I realized, I think I'm good on going back overseas and being gone. I'm going to stay here and do this. And obviously him give me an opportunity and jump in. And the next year he made me the JV coach. And I remember when he told me I was going to be the JV coach, I said, I don't know if I'm ready for this. He said, well, you're going to find out really soon because you don't have a choice. So, I was able to do that for a year, left and went to the college level for a year, figured out that wasn't for me. I just wasn't looking forward to trying to kiss people's tail for the next some odd years, trying to move up in the ranks. And I knew that I wanted to have my own program at some point. Came back out to Potomac for a couple more years, and the Patriot opened up, and I was able to get that job. And, just making sure you're ready to coach kids, like I said, for what their talent level is and not what you might have been, especially for those who are playing. Representation, obviously, a lot of kids have come to me over these 5 years that I coached or been around and talking about they want to coach. And I break things down to them, like you said, talking about what you have to do, how you represent yourself. You can't be out there talking crazy to kids during practice and games because you are no longer a player, and you have to deal with adult situations like an adult and not like a player. Just making sure that you're ready to work and realize that it's not all glamorous. Tony talked about it and Doug talked about it, and I know that House talked about it. It's one of those things that you got to be able to get in there and wash uniforms and sweep the floor and pick up water bottles that kids left in there. But of course, I'm going to make sure they hear about it the next day. But you can't be above anything. And I've seen people try to come into this and do this, even when I was an assistant, and thought that they were above gathering up uniforms and washing it. And, clearly they're not coaching now because of those things. Can't be above anything. You got to be able to do everything in the program, and the things that you can't do, find somebody else is really good at so they can be on your staff. So that's basically what I do, is like having good people around you and making sure that you're in the right mindset to help people get to be the best person that they can be, not just from basketball, but from growing as a man as well.
Well, great. Well, thanks, Coach. Well, guys, look, you guys are all great coaches, wonderfully insightful guys. I think we got a lot of great material here. And I appreciate you not only doing this, but also being involved in our Facebook group. Some of you guys have done podcast stuff. I'll get to all you guys. I just, I do have a job, but I've really, I've learned so much from all the coaches I talked to. I talked to, both Doug's and Tony, and it's just wonderful to let you guys tell your story. And I think it offers so much to people that love basketball, and also, the kids that played for you, to hear you guys remember those great moments and how the kids affected you. But anyway, one thing I want to do this year is do a better job of highlighting what's going on in the current season. Now that look like we're pretty assured of having a season, do a better job covering it, try to get, some photos up, maybe do, weekly polls and stuff. So we're going to try to do a little bit more of that to try to highlight the local game, because I think we're very lucky. I think a lot of times we feel sorry for ourselves that the private schools have encroached on the sport that we love. But I think what we have left, we still have great coaches and we have great players, and we'll make the most of what we have. But anyway, look, guys, I want to thank you guys again for taking time to do this. I went longer than I told you guys I was going to go, but you guys are a lot of fun to talk to, and I think you guys give a lot of great insight.
We all knew it wasn't going to go an hour. Everybody just didn't say anything.
Exactly.
Wait, before we leave, let me segue into something that's really good. If somebody's still watching after 2 hours, hey, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
But
Right.
let me tell you guys right now, the George Long Holiday Hoops Tournament 2021 is going to be one of the best tournaments around. Let me tell you the teams that's in this field.
Mhm.
Don't worry about the whole school. All right. Washington Liberty, W.T. Woodson, Theodore Roosevelt from D.C., South County, James Madison, and Centerville High School.
Right.
You tell me a better tournament around.
Yeah.
So if you guys have nothing to do, December 27th, 28th, 29th at Wakefield High School, come show your love because that's going to be a hell of a tournament. Just telling y'all right now.
It's like a single elimination, then you losers bracket and all that.
Eight teams, straight down the center. You go to the right, you're in the winner's bracket. Go to the
In
left.
the 7th, 8th place game, who's ever going to be there opposite us?
At 10 a.m.
No 10 a.m. All 1 o'clock. Everything starts at 1.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I put a Chantilly Pohanka tournament. Had you playing at 8 in the morning. No.
Hey, Doug Ewell, we had to travel to Westfield one year. We lost. We was in the early game. It was like a 9:30 a.m. game at Westfield.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like 20 degrees.
Yeah.
Listen,
That's why we don't do the bash anymore.
Yeah.
His hospitality room made up for that, though.
Oh, yeah.
Well, your team's not doing well if you spend the whole day in the hospitality room. So I had all of the Chick-fil-A.
Gaining weight. Yeah.
That's all right. Well, thank you guys for letting me plug that real quick. Good luck to everybody this week and this season. Good job. Seriously.
Yeah,
hey, I'd like to plug something real fast. I'm pretty sure Sherman and I might be the only ones because I don't think that Fairfax is doing anymore. But my father is on my staff. And I know, my dad turns 80 this year, and I'm super excited to have him on the staff. And I know Sherman's dad is on his staff as well. I know Mike Barbie's dad used to be. I don't know if there was any other coach or son father coaching staffs around. My dad's been with me for 18 seasons, or 17. He didn't coach last season, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug him out there. Excited about that opportunity for us this year.
Are your fathers at least getting minimum wage? Father Rivers and Houston?
Easiest interview in the history of interviews to hire a coach.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, anything else before we sign off? We'll get together later on in the season.
Sounds good.
Put all the pressure on Carlos. All of it's on Carlos.
Yeah, why?
Hey,
Why everybody?
Then take that pressure.
We haven't done anything yet.
You have 19 returning people. That's pressure. That's pressure.
Hey, I feel like everybody has returning players though.
Yeah.
I would just want I kept 3 freshmen on varsity, so that that's why I have the.
Hey, listen, man, you don't gotta explain it to us. You're the favorite, dog.
Hey, enjoy every moment of it. They don't come. Those kind of teams don't come around every year.
Right.
Enjoy
We've
it.
all been there, Carlos, man. Good luck with it.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll see.
You won't enjoy it, but enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't ever enjoy it as much when you're in the middle of it as you do afterwards.
It's
Right.
After the fact, yeah. Not for sure.
All right.
I'll see y'all soon.
All right,
All right,
guys.
fellas.
Be in
All right.
touch. Yeah.
Good night.
Good to see you. All right, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.